Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth Debate with me, Nathan Oakley. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you're new to me, click on the link in the info box below this video to go to my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, for all things Flat Earth, including vlogs and Flat Earth interviews. If you would like to actually join the debate live, click on the link on the bottom of the info box and join the show live. You can express your views, at the moment at least, entirely unopposed, as there is no one here to actually contest anything, but hopefully throughout the show there will be less and less need for my interjection and the debate will flow freely. There is no rules other than basically one: do not swear. In these later shows, I may get a little more heavy-handed with my dismissal of people and my ejecting of people if they disobey the first rule, because it's pretty much the only rule. The second being that if you are ejected, you'll be warmly welcomed back on the next show. So, if you do click on the link at the bottom of the info box, you'll be presented with the Hangout screen. Simply make sure to mute your microphone, your Hangout page that you are in, either one that you're watching now, so that you don't cause a huge amount of feedback when you actually join the page. So other than that, have fun. Hopefully this will be as epic as the last 8 that have preceded this one. So feel free to join. One last plug from me: if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. What I'm now going to do is just share the link to the show. Feel free to share the link that's in the info box to actually join the show, or the regular share link to watch the show. The debate, as you can see on my left, is running in the chat box as well as live on air. So if you do join, as Tim Osman has just done so, you can air your views unopposed. So we'll hopefully hear some unopposed views from Tim. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not too bad. Feeling like a bit of a dab hand at this now. This is number 9, isn't it?
Somewhat.
Yeah, it's hard to bite your tongue sometimes, but it's been good fun. Lots of fun views.
Yeah, it's more interesting conversations. Plus, you see how Globers, I guess to put it in that category, since we're on this channel, don't necessarily share the same beliefs and suffer from similar illnesses, such as dogma, as flat earthers. So it's interesting.
The thing I found most interesting was probably, without sounding too agreeable, exactly that: the fact that the globe earthers will check each other. You know, they won't stand for any nonsense. I'm sure someone pointed this out to me. It might have even been Gem Panda before any of these shows aired. And that's, I think the example he gave was when he was debating with Christians in evolution debates. And he said that you'd have somebody else next to you that was an atheist, but they wouldn't listen to any crap from you. Whereas in Flat Earth, or with Flat Earthers, and this is kind of how I started out with the very first show, was saying pretty much the same thing. Flat Earthers will assume that you will stand shoulder to shoulder with them regardless of what nonsense they spew, just because you also believe the Earth is flat. And me, I'm often at odds with a lot of Flat Earthers, and it's, oh, excellent, we've got another guest. I can shut up. Excellent. Good to have you here, Ronnie.
Hey, how you doing, Nathan? How you doing, Timmy?
I'm not too bad.
Yo.
You guys see the Bro Sanchez video?
Nope.
No. Yeah, he's going crazy about he's saying if anyone didn't show up for his 3-hour and 33 live stream, and if you show him why the AE model doesn't work, you're instantly a shill, he said. So we're gonna do a hangout around 8 in an hour from now, and go over some of the reasons again why the AE model doesn't work. It doesn't mean that we don't live on a flat Earth, but I know Tim believes we live on a what? Do you believe we live on a geocentric ball?
No, I think it's heliocentric.
Oh, so we are spinning and moving. It's all good.
But yeah, he's on. He was just on Sun and Moon Group, and I heard him the other day on his own show. He contradicts himself like nonstop. So he was saying how ain't nobody got any debunks for the AE map, or model. And it's like, first of all, it's a projection. But second of all, yeah, people do. It doesn't work in reality. And then he kind of goes on to say, oh, there might be some problems and blah, blah, blah. But that guy is not on the same level as a lot of people. I'll just say that.
Well, he's saying he's like the leader of flat Earth, and it was pretty funny. The other thing I thought was pretty interesting too this morning when I heard the debate channel going on and everyone talking about the pyramids, and if people really think that they're like hundreds of thousands of years old, steel buildings turn to dirt in a few hundred years. So I'd like to know, like, do you guys think?
Nobody says hundreds of thousands of years for that pyramids, I don't think.
I think like the early mid 1800s. It's poured concrete, right? So you're not allowed to get up close to the pyramids. They're like roped off. So it's like if you really investigate it, you can tell that they've spackled granite over top of like sandstones. Basically what they did was they made a big pile of cement with the sand, in the desert. It's no amazing feat. I got a really good video on it. The Freemasons, or what is it? There's no pyramids on flat Earth, only Freemason sand hoaxes or something. I don't know. You guys should check it out. The other question I had for a couple of interesting people, it would be, do you believe that we've ever observed a photon or an atom?
What do you mean by observe?
Well, anything other than CGI when they explain, like, let's say the double slit experiment. Do you think they actually have a picture of a photon going through the slit?
No.
Yeah. Well, because with my research, the reasons why I serve up the sim porridge, the simulation truth, is because everything that we observe, whether it be on a tiny scale, micro or macro, it tends to get fuzzy over a certain distance. Like we can't zoom in on things in outer space that well, or in our 3 mile horizon, they turn to fuzz, and we can't zoom in on anything because it goes to a fuzzy, it pixelates, right? Everything in the reality that we're in does. And I hear Grimm talking about atomism and nuclear, molecular, this and that, and I'm like, wow, he sounds really smart, but does he have any evidence of anything that he's saying? Like, do any of these people that come on your debate show, Nathan, do they have evidence ever?
No, it's always an appeal to something, and we almost have to, unless you're doing actual hard-nosed observations and experiments and science yourself, because you're going to be ending up taking somebody's word for it, whether it be Eric Dubay or a white coat or history or any other authority. That's just kind of what we do.
Yeah, I know. We can all get so easily caught up in the whole I found this special truth and I've somehow got some leverage over everybody else. We all fall victim to that in the truth community. I know you don't, Tim. And Nathan stays much more on the entertainment side of it, but I just hope people keep it real out there, because guys like Tim are going to come bash you down unless you're actually showing physical evidence and proofs.
Yeah, I try to keep people honest. I'm more on the logic side. Like, there's a lot of things that get slipped. I guess it slips by the audience of the flat Earth, like logically. So that's what I try to do is employ logic and reasoning, and some people it's just doesn't work out at all. Like Bro Sanchez and I did a debate. I don't know if you ever saw that, but
no
he just Really? Yeah, you should go check that out, man. It's actually pretty funny. But I ended up just getting upset and not wanting to deal with it, so I just started being kind of nasty. But
Yeah, you can trigger the best of us, man. You got a skill for triggering people, man. But and then the end of the day, you've promoted our channel, you said our names. You and Nathan are now the only two more popular truthers that have ever even spoken about Event Skeptic or Awake Souls or anything like that. And you do bring good stuff to the table. I just get triggered sometimes. I'm like, ah, Tim, you just get weird. I'm like, ah.
did you know? Did you know that I went on as Ronnie as you to Dogmatic Dell show?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I actually
Nice.
he used my old Event Skeptic from when I was like a hoaxer, right?
Yeah, dude. He's like, Tim, did you disguise yourself as Ronnie? I was like,
Yeah,
yes. Shit was
I
great,
know.
dude.
It got me views probably. Yeah, I can't believe that he's got all those satanic tattoos all over him. That Dell guy. I was like, whoa! That information I put forth yesterday on a couple of live streams, I was just blown away.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting character, but I just with him, I don't think he's smart enough for anything like super diabolical, you know? Like I think he actually believes the way that he does. And I think he kind of in a way likes his sense of complete delirium where he doesn't know where he is and what he is and who he is. You know,
I
I mean,
agree.
he's like a 90-year-old senile woman, you know? Like, hey granny, hey, who are you? You know?
He gets triggered quite a bit, but it's weird though. I'll see the flat Earth leaders, the so-called promoted flat Earth leaders. They promote do as thou wilt. They promote the golden rule. Everybody in the flat Earth community, all the leaders, they really hate God. Or the Bible, right? As soon as you become a truther, all the Bible's fake, right? And you see Zeitgeist. And I just wish people would take a look at like what proof and what actual evidence is out here. That's what I'm always hoping for, and I do enjoy some of the podcasts here, Nathan. I think that I'm wondering, Nathan, how did you get ads on your channel from Samsung? You have like one of the top YouTube ads on your live stream here.
It's viewer specific.
What's that? Be more specific.
No, sorry, it cuts the beginning of what I say. It's viewer specific. So I've ticked a box that basically says that the ads are relevant to whoever's viewing. So I often get, who was the last person that did this? It might have been Amir, who said, oh, you've got this space type advert. And I'm like, it's viewer specific. That ad is for you. So the next man who comes along will get an ad just for them,
I was watching it on a Samsung TV. Makes sense.
There you go. So you're
So
a
I want to
Samsung
add,
customer.
I think part of the problem is that people are trying to basically prove their philosophies, their own philosophies, things that they've come to in their life. And flat Earth is one just the same. It's a philosophy to think that it's not a sphere, but it seems like a sphere, but it's just a simulation on a flat plane that God created for us. So it's just people have bias, and that's what I've learned to really not care about anymore. I really don't care anymore. I do listen because I do analyze people. It is interesting to hear Grimm and people like Brenda and stuff like that come on. But as far as trying to prove something to somebody, it's pointless. It's like I can point you in a direction with evidence or somebody else's findings, but it's like whatever, man. The whole thing about the flat Earth is like that's why I call it a Trojan horse. It's not only a jihad Trojan horse, but it literally is a Trojan horse in that it doesn't matter. I like if I woke up tomorrow and it was flat, it's always been flat, and we still have the same problems that we have today. And it wouldn't topple regimes and governments and pass the peace pipe kind of thing, in my opinion. It would be crazy if they had to come out and say that the Earth was flat, but it's just a pipe dream that's sold on the internet, and I think it's just silly at this point. Go round and round in circles. Well, this guy's got CGI. This is fake, and all this. Do you want to talk to Soundly? I might get him on here. See if he wants to talk about your CGI claims.
I'd love to talk to Soundly, but like I said, in an hour from now. I'm just making dinner. We're going to be on live. Yeah, I just don't think we can. I don't think we can see the curve ever. So they used to say that you have to be 50,000 feet up on a Concorde, basically, which they don't fly anymore. And that was the only height that you'd be able to detect a slight arc in the horizon at 50,000 feet. So for anyone that's going around on the ground that's pretending or saying that they've captured a curve with a, what is it, 25,000 mile circumference ball, the actual mathematics is 0.14. That's how much curve there is. So for Soundly's results,
this is a common misconception that I've been going on for probably about 2 years now. There is a difference between seeing the curvature of the actual Earth and seeing obstruction due to curvature. So when he's looking at obstruction, or he's looking at basically force the line, like I love to call it, that Lake Pontchartrain experiment, that observation really does show, and it helps outline the actual curve of the Earth. Now they have modeled it.
You understand what I just told you, though. To measure a curve, you have to be 50,000 feet in the air, Tim.
No. This is the difference. Look, the difference between seeing obstruction on the ground due to the Earth's curvature and seeing the actual Earth's sphericity curvature is a different concept. There's different mathematics as well.
Yeah, but I can show you obstruction of curvature with someone walking away from me on a street. So objects disappear from the ground up as they're leaving you, and when approaching you, they appear from the top down. This is perspective, and it works on a ball and on a flat plane. And this is what I've been teaching people. I got over 13,000 views, maybe 12,500 views on my perspective video. So people are seeing it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it definitely shows, like the CN Tower has a field of view where you can see the top of the tower from that's greater than the base of the tower. So the further away from the CN Tower you are, the less and less you're going to see of it moving from the ground up. So as you're approaching the CN Tower, you're going to start to see lower, 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 until finally when you're at the base of the tower, you can see it. This works on a plane and on a ball, and it's completely proof that you don't need to have curvature to have objects hidden, because we can only see 3 miles to the horizon. So at 3 miles, every object begins to shrink from the ground up, and this is totally, totally proven.
So what in your definition of perspective is different from the perspective that we learn in art school and all of this different thing? Think of a railroad track. Where does that, I mean, the point is that the ground seems to be obstructing a building, hundreds of feet of a building. Okay, if you want to say that that works on a flat plane or a sphere, it's kind of a circular argument in that then it would work on anything.
It's a moot point. It's a moot point. And actually, the fact that boats appear to disappear to go over a horizon, if you actually look at the scientific evidence, they don't tell you that the boat is actually going over the horizon. They say it's due to the laws of perspective, because we can't see past 3.1 miles. So the boat appears to be going over the curve of the Earth. It's not really going over the curve of the Earth, because you have to go 50,000 feet up. But you're right. It is a moot point. It's null. But when I was dealing with John LeBon back in the day, if I could prove to him that I could come up with a model that was just as acceptable as the one that he had, if not better, then we both have to accept each other. So if I could prove to you without a reason of a doubt that it could be a flat plane, basically we're at a moot point. You can believe that it's a ball, I can believe that it's a plane, but we have to respect each other.
You have to prove first. You have to prove first what's wrong with this sphere. There's nothing wrong with the sphere model. It's been perfected over. Even Jaron has been saying that. People like Cathexis say that. Of course the observations work, because that's just the way it is, man. That's our reality. It's spherical in nature. There's 2 celestial points. The sun obstructs itself. It doesn't change in angular size. It's not bigger over your head. The moon past the ecliptic flips. I mean, all of these things logically work with the spherical model, and so I just don't understand why I would abandon something when there's no good reason to.
Well, yeah, I know, not the ecliptic, but people below the equator, people on the south side of the plane or south side of the map, they see like basically everyone on Earth sees the same face of the moon, right? It's not flipped or anything. It does a cartwheel throughout its path, and people in the south will see an inverted moon. People in the north see the moon the other way. It has nothing to do with curvature. Again, I can argue to the point where it's null and moot. It works on both maps. Every argument we can come up with. That's what we've really done over here at Beyond Flat Earth. Awake Souls and I and the rest of the team, Team Yahweh. I don't know if you know all the guys, ROTR. We got Flat Earth Photography. We got QNF. Like, we go out with our cameras. We measure things. We test things. Not just like Soundly. We're not looking for a curve because we know you have to be 50,000 feet in the air to measure any arc to the horizon. I'd love to hear Soundly's explanation. And
you still don't get it. You still don't get it.
Well, maybe Soundly's the one out taking the snapshot, so he's probably the best guy to.
No, you still don't understand that there's a difference between seeing the actual shape of the Earth, the sphericity of the Earth when you're 50,000 feet or above, and seeing the effects of the curvature of the Earth being obstruction due to the curvature of the Earth, or that would be our explanation.
I already have.
So do you understand that there's a difference? You do understand, because you look. You say that we can't see past 3.2 miles. Well, in my model, we're seeing stars that are trillions of miles away. We're seeing a moon that's 238,000 miles away. Okay, so when you just assert that.
No,
it's not true.
I have to stop you. I have to ask you to politely stop you there. We're filming clouds behind the sun and moon, as well as stars that pass in front of the moon, right? And the sun.
You don't have any videos of stars being near the middle of a moon ever.
Does not the sun. Venus and Mercury both pass in front of the sun, right?
You said the moon.
Yeah, no, I meant the sun.
Well, it's different.
Yeah, the sun.
In your flat Earth simulation model, things orbit stuff, right?
They travel from east to west. Everything goes
No, not from our observation here on Earth. I'm talking about there are actual things orbiting the sun. Mm-hmm. There are actual things like Jupiter having moons that are orbiting it, right?
Well, no, it doesn't orbit the sun. The sun and the moon and all the stars travel the ecliptic path. They form a sine wave when you project it. They go throughout the year. They move up and down. There's retrograde with some of the luminaries that seem to go a little pause, and it happens over a long period. So if you take a snapshot every day of the stars, you could form what would be like a star trail of the sky over a year's path, and it's just a sine wave. Everything seems to be in a sine wave from what I've detected.
So again, are there, on your flat Earth simulation model, is there Jupiter? Does it have moons that orbit it and sometimes are gone because it's on the other side of Jupiter?
I've seen the lights around Jupiter and Saturn. Yes, I can't deny that. Yes, I've seen it. I've seen people film it with a Celestron telescope. Not NASA. I'm saying, your everyday truth seeker. I have seen film amazing things in the sky. I'm not going to deny anything that we can observe, because that would make me a charlatan, right?
Is the moon obstructing the sun during a solar eclipse?
Yes, of course it's the moon. Cool. We can track it. We've tracked its trajectory. We went and filmed it and live streamed from the actual totality. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, that's what I wish all the other flat earthers would do. Stand up, speak truth, and be honest. And like, I got nothing against anybody. I get triggered every now and then. You guys obviously know. You've been around me for a while. I used to lose it on Jeff C a lot more than I do now. But yeah, man, good luck for you guys. Please come over to Awake Souls' channel in 45 minutes. If you're not here debating on this awesome channel, thanks for having me on, Nathan. And Tim, we'd like to have you on Zoom to have a full-on interview with you and Soundly, but you got to get on Zoom because we tried to use Google, and that Lewis guy came over and started eating food and insulting us and calling us my retards. And we don't want any of that. With Zoom, it's peer-to-peer connection. I know. What's with that guy? Like, he seems intelligent. I liked him debating with Grim. I like to see Grim get triggered.
He's an absolute goof, dude. He's one of the first people that actually met me in real life. And by the end of the night, he was just, I'm sorry, but he's just a goofball, man. He just is. Trust me.
Well, either way, I do like that you guys have this platform going, and I like to hear you a little bit more, Tim. Stay active in the community. We need someone keeping us honest.
Roger that, man. Good to talk to you.
Cheers, boys. Thank
Right. Can I ask you a question, Tim? Or not a question, can I ask you to give a bit of clarity to the audience? Because you said it a couple of times, but obviously you were back and forth in debate, so I didn't really want to argue or interject, sorry. You said there's curvature that's visible in regards to the sphericity of Earth. I'm trying not to paraphrase. And there's obstruction, and there's a difference between the two. Can you explain that difference, please?
Absolutely. I was just putting on my cigarette. Basically, when you're looking at obstruction due to curvature, it's going to be usually close to the ground. So if you're on a mountain looking at another mountain, that's going to be probably the highest observation point that you're going to actually see obstruction due to curvature, say 100, 150 miles. So when people say that you can't see past 3 miles, that's kind of, it's kind of taking the math of being a 6-foot observer, like at the beach, basically. So when people say that you should see left to right curvature, that would be a field of view issue, as well as obviously being too close to the Earth to see the actual Earth's sphericity. So if you can observe something that's past, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles that is a large tower that is being obstructed by a basically water or land or whatever, you would then say that that's obstruction due to curvature, at least in the spherical model. And so when you go higher and higher, yeah, there's going to be a difference. Say the ISS, if that's real, looking back at the Earth, that would be seeing the actual left to right kind of curvature of the Earth. But when you're at the ground, they kind of conflate the two, like he was doing, saying that you have to be 50,000 feet to see the curvature. Well, that would be left to right. That would be if you could see a huge field of view instead of just out, say, like a little passenger window of a plane. And so yeah, that's the difference, is that you can be towards the ground, you can see things that are very, very far away, mostly when they're high up, and then you can judge by what's missing, what's being obstructed by the wall of water, wall of land, or whatever, how much is missing, and kind of do a calculation for how far it is. And I mean, showing like Dell's video where he goes out and he does his first observation, and it's clear that part of these buildings are missing. And he's doing maybe 17 kilometers or something like that. And he was maybe 10, 20 feet high, I don't know, at one point. But there's clear obstruction. So you're not seeing the actual sphericity of the Earth. You're seeing a result of which, basically, that you can see very far some object or whatever that is being obstructed by the land that's closer to you.
Thanks.
I don't know if that cleared it up.
Yeah, it's very concise.
But it is a common misconception. There is different math. I would advise John LeBon has a good series called like Ball Earth Math or something, where he goes and does like the 3 different methods to which to find basically what Eric Dubé at the time was saying, the 8 inches per mile squared. So he also kind of goes into what the difference of seeing obstruction versus the actual curvature of the Earth.
Good stuff.
Let me invite some people. But yeah, it's good to have a open platform like this. I mean, obviously, it doesn't get that nasty. Like everybody's like, we have to shun these guys out. They're just trolls, and really, it's just not truthful at all. I think that a lot of people have a lot relevant to say. Then sometimes they get pushed into corners. Like I get pushed into corners literally saying that I do stuff to children, and I don't think that's a very appropriate thing for scientists or up and comers or whatever to be doing and saying. And I think that they use clear tactics to control the echo chamber. Whereas you have something like this, I can come on and talk to you, and as long as I'm not nasty, I can stay.
Yeah, you can talk about this as well. It's definitely related to the topic. You're in this arena and you're being called a kiddie fiddler. It's outrageous, to be honest. And when it happened, I was like, well, like with anything, you just have to present a little bit of evidence to suggest that's true, rather than repeating it 16 times and programming the audience into just accepting that as being fact. That's just not on. I mean, he's entitled to do it, and I would encourage him, if he wanted to come on right this second and do exactly the same thing again. Obviously, he'd probably get kicked a lot quicker. But, it's like anything. You've just got to present a bit of evidence with what you claim. It's as simple as that, really. And he presented none.
Yeah, and they continue to do this. The Bro Sanchez and You've Been Exposed crowd have done the same thing. I don't know who it was. I have my suspicions of who it was. But I heard that it was obviously porn bombed. And I think that me and truthfully, the only time ever that I ever have, I think me and you know when. So literally, Nathan, literally, dude. So, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Somebody bombed Flat Out Elected as well as Bro Sanchez. And then they started this rumor that it was young kids, and I don't know. I think I heard it was midget porn at first. Then some people and the Christian crowd started saying that it was kids. And from the very beginning, I said, hey, if it was kids, you have a moral right and really go and report that, okay? Because while it's fresh, the police won't go and look at what a flat earther is saying or who he's pointing a finger at. He's actually going to go look at IP addresses, MAC addresses, stuff like that, from which it actually came from, involving underage people, which I doubt. But either way, I said that from the very beginning. I'm not scared because I like pretty things. I like very, very pretty things, and that kind of stuff is just really not my bag at all. So that's kind of where they steep and go to when they've been backed into a corner. Like that's just their defense mechanism to say, hey, kick this guy out and don't talk to him. Vegan Warrior, we did 8, 9, 10 hours of me drilling shit into his head, trying to go through this logic, through this observation, all of this stuff that I've learned, all went in one ear and out the other. And now he doesn't talk to me because of the whole black community that's against me because I'm a child, whatever. And then Dredd starts spreading rumors that I'm a racist and I call everybody the N-word, which I called him one. On Bro Sanchez said that I was going after his daughter, his underage daughter, and started making up stuff that he knows it's me and he's going to the police with. I mean, just another situation where somebody's going to completely make up something that's libel. It's completely slanderous. And furthermore, why I got upset the other night is because they're doing it on somebody that isn't, it's clearly not me. I'm not that person. So they're actually pinning something very, very slanderous onto somebody that is innocent. Just a completely innocent guy that got picked out by a bunch of flat earthers. Bob did a background check on him from Globebusters. Putting his name in the chat everywhere. Oh, IPS, let's call his work. Hey, let's call his work and let's do this. Okay, so they were under the presumption, obviously, that it was me, but this is how flat earthers react. Even some of the top flat earthers thought it was a good idea to try to ruin somebody's life because of some of the actions that I may or may not have done in the past. And I hope that woke some of these people up, but I highly doubt it.
Well, yeah, you've got a reputation, and people have less empathy for you. That's always going to be the case. So, but on the other hand, they are literally spreading bullshit, and that in itself just annoys me, regardless of who the bullshit is about. It's just not on. Because if they're prepared to spread it about somebody they have very little empathy for, they'll probably do it for somebody, they've got the potential to do it to anybody. Do you know what I mean? If bullshit comes that easily, maybe it's not bullshit in their mind. Maybe in their mind they believe it, but that's also just as bad. Oh dear.
It is. Yeah. And this whole Jake thing, it's interesting that I mean, first of all, he didn't have the right tact to come out and say the information that he did in a more mannerable way for this community or whatnot. But the reaction that he's gotten from these people is ridiculous. And he mirrored, I'm sure you saw it, but he mirrored Tom Foolery's video that says nigga a couple times in it, basically. And so, you know, Sassy and You've Been Exposed and all these people are saying, oh, he's just a racist, and just completely throwing him under the bus, which he has relevant information. I first saw that before this whole hubbub. And I obviously met him in Denver. He just didn't give me the time of day at all. He had a drink in his hand. Oh, water's flat. Look at my cup or whatever. But I literally said, hey, man, you're on the right track. You know, good job. Keep going. You know, this is more truthful, you know, because we need people that are out there that do have the subs, that do have kind of the business structure going for this, to actually start scrutinizing the flat earth, even close to as much as they do the spherical model, just for some semblance of objectivity in this community, because people can be led astray, they can be led around, and that's what's going to happen when we don't have very honest people at the top. So, you know, I said, hey, good job. You didn't say anything back to me or whatever, but I email people, I talk to people, I tell them what I think. If they don't email me back or talk to me back, that's fine. I don't, engage with them. But with a lot of these people, I've talked to them, and I've tried to figure out why they believe the way that they believe. I've been trying to crack the old Jerry code for quite a while, but I just gave up, man. It's like, go ahead. You obviously, I think this is cool for you, because if you're doing it almost as like babysitting or something, where you can get like some numbers in, kind of maybe pay your internet bill or something like that, that's totally cool. You provide a place, an open platform to people come, and it's probably passes the time watching the little one quite a bit quicker. So I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm just rambling, dude. I just smoked. My bad.
No, it's all good. I think you're right to a certain degree, but on the other hand, every single video so far I've done has been, I don't know what the YouTube terminology is for screwed out of any decent ads. So I was halfway interested when Ronnie said it, but then it occurred to me why. Because as it's going out live, obviously they don't know what's going to happen. So when it's live, there presumably is decent ads on it, and then as soon as it stops and renders, they go through it with a fine tooth comb and go, nah, nah, none of this is going to get monetized. But literally up until now, pretty much everything, up until doing this series of debates, I've said, Flat Earth's not suffering any censorship. This is nonsense, because none of my videos have. They did, but then I just appealed them and they got turned straight back again. So I was like, oh, it's just part of the algorithm and you just have to appeal it, and it's just the same as it ever was. And my opinion was, Flat Earth's not suffering any censorship. It's far from the Vegas censorship, far from it. That's happening in the real time. Stuff's actually happening right now. There are cameras and boots on the ground in the most literal of ways. So yeah, you can understand there being censorship about that. Nobody actually knows what's going on. Not really. Obviously there's some who were physically there and saw what happened, and they're the ones who actually know. Beyond that, nobody really knows. But the speculation, that's going to get censored. Flat Earth? Nah, I don't think it's getting censored until I did this. Now all of the stuff is not censored, but certainly not suitable for advertising. So there we go. It's certainly not going to make me any money. It's a shame, because yeah, I'd have loved it to. But there we go. Everybody loves cash. There's no way around that.
That's weird, man. I mean, maybe I wonder if it like takes out the cussing or something. But how could they know? How could they possibly know the subject matter and say, no, this isn't good for advertising? I mean, I don't know. I think that this is going to be, if they're restructuring almost with this whole new thing, I don't know how good it's going to be. But the thing is it's restructured for the conspiracy crowd to be kind of picked at whenever they want, or if you're doing videos of you playing a video game and you have all of your own content, you're not going to get messed with ever. But it seems like this crowd is starting to get clamped down on, not only on YouTube but Twitter and Facebook and stuff. I think that's part of the fake news whole garble that's going on right now, and I think yeah, it's only going to get worse. But really, it will make people strive to do something different. Just like people that got sniped by me should take the eustress out of it and figure out how to run a better fucking run a better podcast where they can't be sniped. Period.
What's a eustress?
So eustress. It's you look it up. EU stress. It's a very, very interesting subject. But it's basically beneficial stress, and people kind of look at stress as just a derogatory term, but it's kind of like taking it's kind of like working out almost, how that stress on your body tearing up your muscles is actually a net benefit. So kind of learning from situations, not like being the victim exactly, like actually learning from a situation from which you've gotten stress from or whatever.
Okay, I'm just reading it now. So it's like I know exactly what it means. So when I used to do long distance running, like miles and miles and miles and miles, and you'd get back and you'd be I was about to swear then, you'd be very tired. But once your heart rate dropped, you'd get like a big massive dopamine hit, like huge amounts of endorphins would suddenly flood through your system, and it was wicked, and it'd make you want to do it again, even though it was physically, very, well, stress is the right word. It was physically stressful on the body, but it was like taking drugs. It was wicked. And I'm sure lots of athletes get addicted to exactly that, and it's your own brain releasing good chemicals for things that is defined in this example as quote unquote good stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Runner's high. Endorphins and dopamine, serotonin. We're basically walking chemicals, and it's kind of funny that I don't know, people that have never smoked pot and are like so against it and stuff. I mean, it's part of us. We have a whole cannabinoid system. It's kind of like the serotonin. When you take a multitude of pills, it re-up and take inhibitor or whatever, it messes with those balance basically of dopamine, serotonin, and stuff. So I guess that whole taboo of illicit drugs, and kind of goes into like the pharmakia, how basically any illicit drug you can get legally from a doctor, as long as it's prescribed to you. And I mean, even here in Denver, it's like, oh, I don't sleep very well, I need weed or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, here's your medical license. So it's interesting. We're starting to see the government seeing the benefit of taking hold of even more control and power. And it's interesting because I want to grow my own. I don't want to actually continue to smoke stuff that you get from these places, because I can only imagine what they're doing. Not only to make them more potent, but possibly make it grow with different things in it. Who knows at this point? So, I mean, you look at, they're given, fluoride in baby water. I mean, it's kind of out in the open at this point. And people need to wake up to stuff like fluoride in the water. It's pretty ridiculous. Dental fluorosis as a child because there was too much fluoride in your water in your municipal tap entry is absolutely ridiculous. It ruins people's lives. And yeah, I'm just rambling, dude. Is there any flat earthers? Is there anyone in the chat that would like to come and talk to Timothy Osman and prove the flat earth to him once and for all?
Scrolling through the chat, seeing who's in there.
Must be a bad night for the flat earth. or they're watching Bro Sanchez over on the retirement Sun and Moon group or whatever.
Got a few flat Earth related questions, and by flat Earth I don't necessarily mean shape of the Earth related. So you mentioned about being doxxed and having a private investigator set on you. Now, a lot of people who watch this may have no idea what you're talking about, but if I ask you a very specific question, maybe you can go from there. So, I've forgotten the name now. Oh, I hope I've got this right. Who's Jeremy Hornsby? Is that right? Have I got that right? Jason Hornsby.
Yeah, that guy is just another failed dox amongst many failed doxes of Timothy Osman over probably 6 to 8 years. I think it's about the 8th or 10th. It was first found by, I think, Dan W. But Dan W. and Antonio Subarats and Chris Baby Ruth Seeker all had this Skype conversation going, trying to figure out doxing, trying to dox me and stuff. And they looked on my Steam account, which I had completely open. It says a top brass flat earther as my name. And you can go to my history. And just like a year and a half ago or something, I had it as Jace, Jace, which has been my name since I was, well, actually, since I was pretty much on the internet. Like my first Google account has that name in it. And that was just my combination of Joker and Ace, basically. And that's kind of has to do with my my logo as well. But so he took that, and then they looked up like IT, and they looked up LinkedIn and all this kind of stuff, and they found like the top LinkedIn guy, and his name was Jason Hornsby. And I don't know, they like, I don't know how they came to the conclusion besides me pushing them a little bit. I was kind of in that Skype conversation to where I got that information and made a video revelation of the method, and I also made an anonymous video that confirmed what they were thinking, basically. So they went after this guy because of it.
Sorry,
And
just explain that again. That's new to me. So you said you made an anonymous video confirming their nonsense.
yeah, so it was the top kind of thing in the room was that I was that person. So I made an anonymous like video, took some anonymous clips and put in the anonymous voice saying that, and then slipped it in IPS's chat, the YouTube link. And so like YouTube and some other people found it and started spreading it really quickly. And so yeah, it confirmed what they thought. And then it kind of got out of hand a little bit with IPS and other people calling his work. So that's when I came out and actually showed my face to prove that I'm not that person. And some people still go around and call me that subsequently, but it's just they're misinformed, I guess.
There was another one as well. This is going to go back a while, and I can't remember his name, but Jeff Stewart. You did a similar thing. You made a video where you overdubbed a guy that Jeff Stewart claimed you were. The name will come to me.
Kyle Jones.
Kyle Jones. That's it. So, who's Kyle Jones?
That one is the creation of Mr. Jeffrey Stewart. That was a good one. I still have that video because it's so epic. But he supposedly hacked me somehow. He like got some data, then found me at some atheist website, which is totally, it's not me at all. It's a total breadcrumb, cookie crumb that he just got lost in. But Kyle Jones is some fat, bald atheist in California, and I was in Denver at the time. And yeah, he pulled him out of the blue, and everybody, you know, what's funny is Jed Skeptic Media still has the interaction between you, I think Patty, Jeff Stewart, and a few other people talking about it, though, about how he was bragging about how he hacked me and how he found out who I was and stuff. And I mean, the voices, he had like a lisp, the guy, Kyle Jones, and I don't. And I mean, he just didn't look anything like me. But yeah, I talked to him probably a month ago when I was in Nebraska, actually, on his little show, and he said he was wrong about it. And he said I was right about the psyop aspect and stuff. So he's come full circle, but that whole fiasco is funny as hell.
Yeah, good times, good times.
Yeah, see that's one thing though, is that a lot of the flat Earth community is kind of new into it, and they don't understand the nuances. Like they have no idea that we were completely diametrically opposed at one time. Completely. Like you were trolling me heavily, I was trolling you a little bit. It got really nasty for a long time there, and we've formed a interesting relationship afterwards. Like it's let bygones be bygones kind of thing. So a lot of people don't remember the John LeBon series. They don't remember how flat Earth used to be. They're the kind of like the nouveau riche of flat Earth, where it's just the feeling, it's just the emotion behind it. It's not all of the actual knowledge and kind of journey therein that we all have had. We all went through all these stages of matrix decode, dropping out, finding the curve after 2 years or whatever. Tiger Dan falling out, trying to map the damn place. All of these different things that it needs to be compiled. Like I really want to write a book about it. It needs to be compiled because this is a social experiment like no other. I mean, the internet has provided a means to which to have crazy social interactions in and of itself. So it's relatively new platform. But this whole meme, that's why I'm still here, man. It's just it's bedazzled me. It's entranced me. I don't know really what else to say about it. What's up, Jim Panda?
Hey, man.
Been
Hi,
joined by
Nathan.
Gem Panda and Shana. Is it Shana? Shana? Hello, hello.
Shananana.
Shanana. Hello.
Yes, this is Shanana.
Good to have you here.
I just thought that was interesting what you were saying, Tim, about documenting it, because I think that would be interesting to do. I think it should be documented.
I do have just one question after all that from Tim, which is that who would perpetrate such a social experiment? That was my only question.
Well, as the Mark Sargent shill and Patty Steer shill revelations have just unfolded under the past 2 weeks, we have realized that Metatron and other shill PR companies are at the head of this hydra, pushing this meme. And that's pretty much to be expected, I guess you could say, in that people that want, say, a billionaire or some government entity or some agenda, they don't go and put agent A in place and agent B in place. They actually have plausible deniability by recruiting PR companies and firms to carry out their bidding. And so that's what we see with this Metatron Hydra.
I had this conversation with Jem. I know you're probably bullshitting and just playing to the crowd, but that was part of the reason again for this stream was that got debunked by globeheads, flat earthers. The flat earthers embraced that narrative wholeheartedly, and I think Jem was one of them that said in the aftermath, yeah, I just did a quick Google search as well and more a load of nonsense. But that narrative was picked up by flat earthers.
I do think that's interesting what Tim says, though, because I tell you the one thing that I thought was a bit peculiar in all of that was when that guy was on I think it was Patricia's show, and he was going through how it all it all came about. But I was very surprised to hear him say that like he had approached Mark about these apps, or initially about Mark's app, which I just thought that seemed really odd. A company that's already dealing with, I don't know, hundreds or even thousands of apps and people. It just, it just seemed like, they must be getting inquiries all the time. It just seemed like it'd be very easy for them to just, do someone a deal or something like that in order to test some new system, rather than them sort of picking someone and approaching them. And although he did give some reasoning for that, which it all seemed very plausible, and he seemed like a very plausible person. I was just really surprised to hear that. I just thought that part of it seemed odd, that that he had approached Mark rather than the other way around. But I don't really know much about those sort of things, I guess. So I mean, who knows?
It's all very, very suspicious. No, I really do think there is something to be said. If I have the story right, he did the apps as well as has the rights to his website, correct?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's right.
That, to me, is odd in and of itself. I understand that people go and buy tons of domains, and I mean, for him to have marksargent.com or get marksargent.com or acquire it or whatever is kind of suspicious. And then him having, I don't know, like, doesn't his company, his firm, like PR kind of company, actually promote Mark Sargent and make money off of his website and stuff?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. And I wouldn't want to be, sort of propagating something that wasn't correct.
No, I understand that.
Like I say, just on a personal level, I thought that seemed a bit peculiar, and those are my reasons why. But I should, with the caveat that I don't really have any experience of those sort of things, so that is just really a bit of incredulity. I mean, it's probably meaningless.
Really, there's no contention in the room, I think. Amongst the people that are here, we all can confirm that Mark Sargent is a shill. Okay, it doesn't matter how you look at it, dude. He's trying to be the next David Icke of flat Earth. Okay, dude. So like, seriously, there's
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I do think I like the idea of writing a book about it. I do think that's interesting because I'm kind of doing the same thing almost with this video series that I'm writing, which is about the the 19th century flat earthers, and beyond actually. But and it is very, very interesting to hear their story and see it unfold. So I think it's just as interesting now and better documented.
Well, I'm sending Mark the link. Joins. Telling him you are being discussed.
Very rocky past, and that's due to Mark's insolence alone.
I doubt Mark will want to join.
He actually comes to my videos and comments on my videos with the same comments he did years ago.
Isn't it a bot that he has that does that? Surely it's some sort of bot.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it just bolsters my argument of him being a shill. Either way, why would anybody have a bot going around pasting comments like YouTube and chats that isn't a shill? Like,
can you specifically define shill, just so we know what you mean?
I think there's actually a good definition. If you look up internet shill, I think there's a good definition.
Right.
But basically, somebody
you see a picture of Timmy's ankles.
Oh, nice. But basically, I would just say see Mark Sargent. Like that's basically the definition of an internet shill, dude. I mean, to the T. And what's funny is it's just weird how blatant it is. It's not like it's just so one-sided with these people. I don't understand why doesn't Patty, Nate, maybe you can get me on good terms with Patty. Come on, man. I want to talk with Patty, dude.
Patty's
Seriously.
in the chat. She's here, mate. She's listening.
Oh, come on, Patty. The link is right there. We can chat. We can get hooked up finally after all these years of you
Anyway.
being all coy.
I can just make some.
No, actually, I'm gonna.
Patricia.
That's gonna be the next.
We've been joined by
Um,
Validation Boy.
not-
Sorry to cut you off, Tim. And
Not
Yes,
voice to
I
voice.
have. Don't tell me I've beaten you to a flat earther, surely. It
we've been
cannot
joined
be.
by Validation Boy and Zoe, otherwise known as Be Here and Love. So thank you both for joining the panel.
Thanks, Nathan. Neither Tim nor Jem has what it takes to get Patricia to talk to them like I do.
Patricia, I have spoken to Patricia actually.
Yeah, on my show.
Was it on your show?
Yes.
Oh right.
Yeah, but you guys don't.
Okay,
You guys don't call her a shill though. You
Okay.
know, like, so there's actually a reason she doesn't talk to me.
I think that's more likely because you doxed her.
No, she doxed herself. Hi, my name is Patricia Steele. I'm from Houston. It's like, okay, Google doxed her then, dude. Give me a break.
Anyway,
Enough about
it
that
says here,
specifically.
according to Google, an internet shill is someone who promotes something or someone online for pay without divulging that they are associated with the entity they shill for. A
Yes.
shill might create a Facebook or Twitter account, set up a blog, or simply comment through these and other channels, such as discussion forums.
Nathan had an episode on the definition of a shill before, right, Nathan?
Oh,
And
really?
you talked about how, yeah, and Nathan talked about how, this is like 2-3 months ago. Nathan talked about how a shill is actually a person that's in the crowd faking like they're, holding money up and acting like they're willing to pay for it so that other people join and are also willing to pay.
No, that's a different type
No,
of
that's
shill.
what a shill is, technically.
Well,
I'm just saying, like in the technical definition. What you're talking about is more of like an agent or like not a provocateur.
An internet shill. That's why it
Yeah.
has that preface there.
Yeah,
Because I
but the
think
shill, the shill is the fake buyer, though.
comes from like the medicine men that were like selling medicine, and they'd have like some guy in the crowd who pretended to be cured. I think isn't that where it originally comes from?
Simpsons
That's
do
what
a
the
good
shill
take
is.
on
The
it.
shill is, yeah, the
In
shill
this-
is the guy in the crowd,
Yeah.
not the actual
in-
person perpetrating it.
In The Simpsons.
So
it's
we just have to
Homer
come up with a
and-
different definition.
No, we're talking
Con
about
artist,
an internet
scam
shill.
artist.
Tim did say specifically an internet shill, or well, he did for the
Okay.
definition. So
Yes, C.
Okay.
Mark Sargent.
All right, I'm in the wrong.
Hey, yo, people.
But I think it's true to say though that when amongst the people I've come across, even on my side of the argument, a lot of people don't think that flat Earth is organic. They think that
I think
it
it's
isn't just something that just became popular by accident.
Nah, it's totally organic.
It's organic in the fashion that you give an idea to a certain sect of people, mostly what we see in the
Right.
flat earth as being artistic sets of people, or autistic in some senses. But but yeah, you give them the idea and they kind of flourish within that idea, and they perpetrate it and push it from within. So that's kind of what we see. You can give people the idea that it was space weapons or on 9/11 or no planes or anything, and they'll perpetrate it once they believe that to be the truth.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Flat Earth has been festering behind the scenes in truth forums and stuff on the internet since 2011, maybe before that. So, and it reached or it faced complete and utter opposition anytime it was mentioned up until 2014. It's the first time anyone even bothered to look into it instead of just immediately scoff it. It's the
What
first
do you
time
think
that Flat Earth
changed?
actually started to gain fans was 2014. I think what changed might have been Eric Dubay, maybe Mark Sargent's clues. Maybe not though.
Hey, folks, double P's on the plane.
I
You
think
know
the
what?
show clues.
You
I
know
think the
what?
show clues had a big thing to do with it, truthfully, because when it came out, it's painted in a way to kind of omit things and kind of lead one to believe in a certain direction. And that's what people need, is kind of a entertainment kind of story aspect to it. Because if you went in and just did straight flat earth math, it wouldn't have had the same effect. So you had Yoga Dude, and Mark Sargent, the gamer guy that figured out the intricacies of the world with movie references. And so,
But the interesting thing is, though, with Dubay, is he hasn't, with as regards flat Earth, is he hasn't produced anything himself. Everything is Robotham, isn't it?
Well, technically, no flat earther has that.
Well, that's true.
No, they have, because it's gotten more advanced. It's gotten more
the NASA
gish gallopy.
The NASA stuff has been added in, but a lot of the other stuff, the 8 inches per mile squared, that's directly from
this
Robotham.
zetetic astronomy.
Oh, yeah. All this stuff about lighthouses, and you can't see this from here and that from there. All of that's Robotham.
I mean, come on. I mean, how this is flat. I mean, how hard can it get? I mean, that's what she said, at least. I mean, pardon my French, but nah. You have a nice time. You have fun. Bye, guys. Oh, if I could only. Well, sorry. Oh shit! I hope you don't dox. What do you call it? What's it called? I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm stopping sharing now. Bye.
Well, thanks for that contribution.
It's a good plug for me. So hopefully someone does dox us, because the link is in the chat for any to join. So if you did want to join the live panel, feel free to click on the link in the info box.
That was like a mind wiper. I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, stuff from Robotham.
Yes. This idea is literally a Freemason joke on the masses.
And it hasn't changed in nearly 200 years.
Well, I mean, it can't. I mean, the only thing that it can is, like you said, it adds NASA, but it has to get a little more intricate with the observations and the methods in which they take the observations. Like the P900 does quite a bit more for, I guess, really proving the sphericity of the Earth, or the curvature at least. But did you hear Ronnie come on?
I did. Yeah.
Oh man, it's that gish gallop where it's like they're so wrong that you just can't. I mean, you can't even explain how.
Yeah, and you can't
how they can be
keep
right
up with the wrongness.
No. Technically, guys, both Jem and Tim, both y'all know that the sphericity of the Earth is based solely on philosophy and
logical inferences. Logical inferences. I actually use logical inferences throughout my life to make very good choices for myself. That's great.
The sphericity of the Earth rests on philosophical assumptions.
Well, the flat Earth is more so.
Assumptions.
Yeah.
You guys
flat
assume
Earth is
that
more so, but there's more evidence for the sphere. Even some flat earthers are starting to figure that out.
And what you consider evidence is things that are essentially intangible, that you call objects.
I love.
We've done this. Would be like the 20. Let's not even do that. Let's not even go round 28 with that. But check it out. How about this, guys? Has anyone even considered the fact that any and every app that you've ever downloaded needs access to all the devices inside your phone? I don't see what's any different from this app or any other app. I mean, everyone seems to be.
It often surprises me what permissions an app asks for. And sometimes, I hesitate. I go, yeah, God, do I need, why does it need that? But then you want the fucking app, you want the app, so you hit the button and you accept, don't you?
Yeah, but the reason apps need access to the camera, is because if you take a screenshot of something and you want to share it to Facebook, you want to share it in a text message, you want to share it on, it needs to be able to connect those things. That's all it's for. That's all any of them ever do. Sure, they might be latent in there, but Big Brother's watching us everywhere we go. Big Brother's in all of our TV sets and all of our PlayStations and all of our Every street corner has them. You know, Big Brother's everywhere. They're already listening to everything. So them having permissions to this, that, and the other on your phone, as long as it's not connected to your banking directly, I think it's fine, unless it's a banking app that you're using. But you know, if you're trying to get a flashlight app and it asks for your banking shit, well, you know, then you know something's up. But yeah,
That's a little peculiar.
No, I totally agree. I don't use a banking app. I only use the telephone banking. So I actually physically I want to speak to a person or be in a branch if I'm doing banking. I don't want an app.
Oh God, the last thing I want to do is speak to a person.
That's all I want to do is speak to a person.
Hate people.
When it comes to banking, I want to speak to a person.
Especially people who work in banks. God.
I'm not saying I
And
enjoy
they're not
it.
there to help you, are they? They're there
No.
to prevent you from whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
freedom.
I've worked in a bank. I mean, you're there to sell services. That's it. Credit cards and bank accounts. And all that
Right.
crap. You're there to sell
They
stuff.
sell money. They sell debt. They sell you a debt.
Yeah, selling.
And they pitch you the idea that, oh, your first like the other couple months ago, the bank kept sweating my nuts. So I finally went in, talked to the lady. She offered me shit tons of credit, said my credit is ace, gave me shit tons of credit. Just wanted to put all this money on me, told me how 18 months, no interest, all this shit. And I'm just like, fuck, fine. Fucking got it.
Huh.
Maybe a bad move, but you never know. You know, life
Yeah, no swearing.
life
Please.
has ups and downs and shit, you know. But it's just like that. They're just selling you debt though, because they hope that you're irresponsible. They do target demographics, you know, and they hit target demographics, and they hope that you're going to be irresponsible. People in my age bracket are consumer credit heavy, and a lot of them are in debt, and they see that I'm not, and they want me to be one of the cogs in their wheel. But they won't, because I overpay and I pay everything early. So all they ever get from me is zero interest. That's the only way I think that to handle that shit, I think, right?
Stop to that here. So I used to do that. You just hoard debt from one credit card to the next at 0%. So you'd essentially have interest-free loans. It was wicked. And then they stopped it. They just said, now you have a transfer fee of X%. And you're like, well, that makes it useless. You know, I don't pay anything. No thanks. So that was it. I paid off all the credit cards. Just had to get a better job and pay them all off.
But definitely, they're just selling. Go ahead.
I think banking is crap.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't bank anywhere.
Well, you
Far
can
off the
use
grid.
it as leverage and get paid for it. So sometimes banking is nice if you use it correctly, I guess.
I was never in a situation where I was able to. I was never in a situation where I even had credit until I made some big purchases, and you know, got a cosigner on one thing, paid that off a long time ago, built my shit up. I'm sorry, Nathan. I keep cussing. I'm sorry, man. Please forgive me. I messed everything up. Now I got the credit, and it's been nothing but ace, and so they want me as their slave. They can't get me. They want me.
Oh, you're gonna play their game. You're gonna pay on time, aren't you? They're VB.
You know what, guys?
Pay early though. I mean, that's the way you win. Anyways,
this is
What's up, man?
absolutely beautiful. This is what I pictured when literally what I had in my mind, and the metaphor's even there, right? We've literally got Issa, VB, Jem, and Tim Osman. Obviously, Shana, you're screen sharing literally the flat Earth campfire, which you are all huddled around, chatting nicely. Isn't this beautiful?
I was gonna come in too. I was like, did someone say banking?
I thought you might like that campfire, Nathan.
I think it's lovely. You've made my day.
This is nice. Yeah, man. What's cracking, yo? So, yo, what I think, yo, what's up with this? What's up with the that like casino place that's involved with all this fun? You guys know anything about that? Tim, maybe? I don't know.
No, have you conditionally accepted it?
Not yet. Well, in my head.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought it interesting. Yeah, Landry's, right? I think it's called. There's like this. What do you call it? What do you call it?
Oh, the Shill Show, yeah. FDOHP.
Yeah, I was wondering if, like, you know, because it's like everything that it's so smart. Like I'm so like, if the what I think is what's what, I'm like sitting here just clapping, like so well done, like like, you know, it's actually poetic. You know what I mean? If you see, like, you know, I don't know. I think of it like, you know, it's so intelligent. It's ridiculous. You know, like
What do you think
corporations.
about a LLC buying the house?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, it makes it like, let's say, like, you know, we're gonna think like, okay, you know, it's just like it makes me think I would have loved to have been in the room with the gentleman that sat down and thought this all up. You know?
To what end?
Well, like, let's say like this.
K
Right?
Bono.
Well, who wins?
Qui bono.
Who wins when you play at the casino?
The house.
The dealer.
There you go. Welcome
You're saying this
to
is.
the
You're saying this is.
show.
Welcome
saying
to
this-
the Shill Show.
No.
You don't know. We're about to know.
And I'm not mad at it. I could carry on if you'd like. Interrupt the conspiracy talking.
I'll have to take that and make some lyrics for "Welcome to the Shill Show."
Yeah, oh, you should, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Give me the instrumentals on that, and I'll do it.
I did. I give you the guitar tracks.
You don't know that it's a ball.
So Issa, are you saying that the whole thing is an elaborate, long play bet that someone made at a casino? I bet I could fill this casino up with people that believe the Earth is flat, and by the end of 2017, and it's just a big casino bet between two.
Well, I think of it like
gamblers.
this. It's like, you know, intelligent people think about this stuff, in my opinion, and the idea that they would think about this discussion. I think whether it be something that people think is, I mean, I don't know. Flat Earth for me isn't stupid, like, or as stupid as people might like to think. Anyhow, it can get pretty stupid. People can get stupid, but the ideas themselves are just ideas.
Well, what were you suggesting
Issa,
when you did our research?
would you think? Hold on. Would you think differently if it was proven to be a psychological operation? I mean, would you something to maliciously make something false and throw them off, perhaps, or something else, perhaps? But would you care then if it was just a shill operation?
Well, it depends to what effect, because, you know, it depends. You know, I mean, if someone were like, you know, let's say someone's design was to inject this as part of the fake news agenda, right? In some way, shape, or form, to manipulate somehow people for, you know, dishonorable, you know, ends. Then yeah, then it would. But it doesn't take away the value of what this conversation has meant for me, and it doesn't take away the conversation of what I think it has always meant. You know, like, you know, this is just, I think the biggest thing that mankind has always faced is the ability to deal with one another. But granted, like, but I'm not going to get into the flat earther stuff. But like the idea that if there was a malignant purpose to it, I'd be upset by that. But to me, I don't think that there really is one, because essentially it's a conversation of coming back to the senses. Now, granted, if someone has jumped on that, then, I'm not mad at them. Do you know what I mean? But if it's a way to track people, or to be like, whatever like that, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I think, like I've said before, it's like, I think people's flashlight apps do that. You know what I mean? When it goes to those apps that people were downloading,
So if you thought the Earth was a sphere, which you did before, then you had the quote unquote flat Earth awakening, and say you've returned to your senses, but in a way, you've returned to the sense of kind of a local area of the Earth, and you're possibly wrong about that not being a sphere. So in a sense, would that be actually not returning to your senses, that you've actually kind of taken on something based on a local area?
No, I don't.
And a philosophical approach as well, though. I mean, we can find philosophy in everything.
I think here's the thing. You can find philosophy in everything, but the point is that look, not that I understand fully or whatever, but I've not abandoned the ball earth model. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. And I think that's something that a lot of people tend to do when they get into the flat earth, is that they just abandon. Like, I mean, I've heard flat earthers say end the education system. I mean, it's like, that to me is just fucking social suicide. So, I mean, like, when people talk along those lines of just abandoning what mankind has achieved and understanding the parameters that it's done it, I think that's foolish. So I would never abandon that knowledge.
Well, I love the idea kind of along the lines of teaching it differently. How about teaching it to where everybody would have a justification for why it is a sphere and why it isn't flat and why we used to think that?
Not a bad idea.
And
I think how about this, though?
and that would be something, push that in the education system. This is something that Jed Skeptic Media has brought up before. It was beautiful. Teach them flat so they can teach themselves why it's a sphere. And we wouldn't be running into these issues later in life like we are now.
Well, here's let me see if I have this picture.
I think we might, because regardless of what you teach, you're reliant upon people bothering to learn, and I think that is part of the issue.
No, there's something about the conspiracy crowd that has a resistance against the authority. But if they were taught logic and reasoning for the issue, I don't think that would be such an issue. You would understand. Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's the thing that must be spoken about when we're going to talk about teaching this stuff, is that we also have to accompany it with, like, take Edwin Hubble. I just love this quote. He says, "Such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous in a sense to the ancient conception of a central Earth." And he goes on, "This hypothesis cannot be disproved." You know what I mean? Accompany that information too.
This is something quote mined, and I've said before, on observation alone, it really can't be disproved from the ground. But we've come through different modes of sciences, and if we are orbiting with all of these satellites, and we should know that we are orbiting the sun. So, it's just classic cherry picking, I think, because really the quote starts out at "such is," and that is already taking something out of context, because you don't even know what he was just talking about.
Well, no, I'm sure we could.
I found this in a lot of Christian geocentrist stuff before, like that exact thing taken out of context completely.
If any of my friends out there have that full quote, I would appreciate it. Let me see. Let's look. I mean, I could go and look it up at the moment, but let's see. Edwin Hubble.
I'm trying to think what that was in.
Let me pull up the
But
pictures.
I think that he was trying to actually make the point that to the modern people that like everybody, the collective knowledge is that it is heliocentric. I think he's trying to underline the point that this idea of geocentricity is kind of like basically like a flat Earth idea to most people today. You know what I'm saying? I think he was making that distinction, not saying that the Earth is geocentric. And then of course that begs the question into the geocentric flat Earth conflation that you're probably pitching. So
Well, well, no, I think, and I guess he was quoted. This was in. It's called the Observational Approach to Cosmology. I guess is what I've seen it's under. It's from Caltech. I don't know. Anyway, I should look more into that quote. Forgive me. No, the notion of flat Earth is much more than, in my opinion, is much more than about like we said, like you said, like I've actually, I know what I've been saying this lately. The silent winner of this flat Earth debate has been geocentrism. That's been the winner in this whole debate, regardless of flat or sphere. The biggest philosophical victory that I think is happening, that I think is making people question things, is geocentrism, and I think it should be. I think also, like, regardless of the shape of the Earth, I mean, I say it like, hey, it looks flat, prove it's not. I don't know what to tell you until otherwise. It just seems.
yeah, I like the philosophical geocentric approach that it can bring, but like I said, it's laced and conflated with flat Earth. And then you have all these precepts about, NASA being a hoax and the government being a complete lie and everybody's coming after you for the most part, not every flat earther, but
yeah, well, I
just
mean,
saying.
I think a lot of people feel like that, man. Like, I mean, I've met like different people, like, just that live out, that aren't doing a damn thing, and they're like, I ain't never getting now one of them smartphones ever. It's like, like they're out there fucking picking corn, dude. You know what I mean? Like they're just still
My
like,
mom was one of them, dude. She said she'd never get Facebook, she'd never get an iPhone,
right,
and she now has a brand new iPad, brand new iPhone,
right.
Facebook, Twitter, like everything.
The point. This is where I've come into the mix. This is where a lot of I tend to. This is why I'm friends with ballers a lot of the time, is because like I'm just not. I'm like, look, they've already collateralized everything. So like, especially when it gets to the subject of law and people start talking about straw men and shit. And I always say, if God knows every leaf that falls, surely he knows the social security account number assigned to your person. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's like, it's not from the devil kind of thing. Or like, it's this kind of thing where it's just part of creation. We're going to have to learn to fucking use it, I guess, because it just seems it's something that is just here. And like, and to go back and not have a misunderstanding of money and wanting to go back to the gold standard and not understanding the value of the system that we're actually in because of the historical consequences and contracts, because corporations don't die. You know what I mean? So these contracts are continuing to go, and the people that operate the companies, et cetera, because they've collateralized everything already, instead of looking at it like through the lens of that you got to break away from the system, it's a matter of learning to master the system. And that's what I think is, really for all of us, for all of our consideration, regardless of, the shape of the Earth that you hold, the opinion, but I don't think we can. I think it's healthy for us to offer options. But then I was watching Cass Sustein, his thing on nudge theory.
Yeah.
And he yeah, man. And he was it's funny, I've been called yeah, it's all right. So like it was just talking about how, even having like not knowing what to do and not doing anything is an option. And they don't want to like stifle people, I think. And it makes more sense in the community. This is why it's a secular school, and we're supposed to learn our what's and how's and everything, how to do shit at home. But we've no longer have that right now at this time. And it's the biggest detriment to, and the biggest, open wound to our society is that we don't have the family unit like it used to, or at least we don't even respect the tradition of any of it anymore. Never mind the function of it, of a family unit to raise children, and then how to not let a school system become a mom and dad for your kids. Like that's like the biggest, thing to me. The thing with flat Earth is it highlights it highlights so much, bro. Because like, it's like when I watch you guys, when flurfers or whatever you call flat earthers and shit, this shit is hilarious because there are so many people that are just like, yeah, it's stupid. And it's just like, schools are dumb. They shouldn't even exist. And they're like, that's a platform for them.
It's funny you bring that up, Isa, because talking to somebody earlier about that, like in the United States, it's like, when your child turns 18, you're supposed to, but what would be the grander thing would be to together, bond together, grow together, a beautiful community. But that's not what on mainstream is acceptable.
Yeah, at least in this Western culture, I think there are other cultures that definitely stick more with the family unit. I think even Mexico and even Mexicans in America stick together like auntie and uncle and mom, dad, and everybody's kids will be packed in a 4-bedroom house. At least where I've lived, Texas and some other places. But yeah, it's I guess more of an Americanized or Western kind of idea. I guess it's more of a to attach more to that is go out to college, go and go into that rat race, go spend $100,000, put yourself in debt to then also put yourself in a position to go into a new rat race in the job market. All of it being exactly what they want you to do.
Exactly, and it's everything that you're spending all those thousands and thousands of dollars for.
But it is gambling, isn't it, though? It's gambling.
Indoctrination might be a subjective thing to some, because you might say that the sphere evidence or the sphere information that kids are taught is indoctrination, but on the other hand, it also might be true. And I don't know if indoctrination is necessarily denotes that it's lies, like it's falsehood. I'm not sure. It might. But either way, kids are taught what they're taught. And I think that if I go to a high school class, pick up a book, I'm sure a history book is going to say that 9/11, there were 17 hijackers, and it probably will have pictures, and it'll probably say the whole story about Osama bin Laden and all that. And I've come to find out that that's probably not true. So then that in and of itself really invalidates the whole education system. Well, to a certain degree. But yeah, I mean, they have the ability to teach kids whatever they want. And that also goes by omission, too. They can omit logic and reasoning, the trivium, the quadrivium, stuff like that, to children in certain sects, so that they basically go on and are fine with doing mindless tasks and don't really want to better their life in any way. Seems.
You want to add
Well,
something to that, Steve?
all this being said, got me painting this horrible picture in my head right now. Issa was very nondescript about what he was trying to get at. I'm not really up to date on all the latest news, so I don't know. But it made me imagine a horrible scenario that, like, this whole thing is just a big bet at a casino, and it's a long term. And then whoever wins it, they're gonna film the whole they're gonna film the whole thing, and then they're gonna turn the whole thing into like the season finale of some brand new style of show, and they're gonna call it The Bet or something like that. It's gonna be like a whole new game show. It's gonna cross over into
or it's the idea of this. It's like it's like see how
and we're the first Stooges. It's like that shit that there was that show called Joe Schmo or something like that, and they tricked a guy into thinking that he was on a reality show, and they were just filming the filming of the fake reality show that didn't exist, and they were showing him interact with the people, how they were actors and stuff, and all of that. It showed how he was being manipulated into acting a certain way while on camera as opposed to off camera, even though he was constantly on camera and didn't know that. And then there was this whole massive psychological play, and he won the whole show, and then but it was all fake. And then he like had this twisted breakdown in the finale when they actually revealed the truth to him, and he went through like horrible like emotional shock, and it was like crazy. You guys never remember that stupid show?
No, I think I've heard of it though.
Yeah, but and then like I mean, what if they're gonna spin this whole thing into just some TV show called The Bet or something weird like that? How horrifying would that be?
Well, that's
Check.
part of the plan, is for it to go not only mainstream but get some kind of a niche in the conspiracy realm or something. I mean, they were throwing TFR spots, Mark Sargent and Jerry, really quickly, and they've been shilling for that channel ever since. But yeah, I mean, it seems that it is wanted to be a niche kind of crowd, and they're going to step right up into place as the gurus of the whole experiment. And it probably is some experiment to a certain extent. It could be PR companies, could be all kinds of stuff, but it could be also somebody just like as a joke. Maybe even part of the crowd that has come out and perpetrated this, or a group of people. I don't know, but it's not. It's organic, like I said, in the sense that it spread. The idea spread, but it's also being pitched and put into mainstream and like very inorganically, in my opinion. So I don't know.
I would love to just say flat Earth court for I'm enjoying your past streams for doing your whole law thing at the beginning of your show, because I think that's great and people need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's I mean that for me. Check 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you can. Forgive me. Yeah, I think it's the most important thing, actually. In my opinion, it's what it's like any subject I happen to get into. It's like I just think it's the most prevalent topic that like it helps in the idea that what I think most people are suffering. Like I guess I see it in my community, and I see it this like this hopelessness. You know what I mean? Like everybody's on drugs. Everybody's on something with some hang up here, there, the other thing. And the thing is that to me, that only exists when your life is in your own philosophy. You're meaningless, and like any one of us at any time can stoop to that level of depression. And I think the idea is to that if anything, even if I mean I don't know, it's like it's something that people need self-worth. And although it may like I cringe when people need like love and affection kind of shit. Like that's just how I am. Like I'm like but to a certain like or whatever. But I also, I recognize that really what our people need more than anything is like just a little bit of self worth, and and I think something beautiful about this discussion is it forces us to look into a very deep subject, like like the discussion of the shape of the earth. I mean, you got to understand all the different dynamics of this conversation, and it also brings into the flavor or like the concept of geocentrism, which puts one at the center of the creation. And just to even experience that, for even if someone isn't going to go and be a flat earther or whatever the case may be, just to experience the concept. Everyone is entitled to at least hear this idea that they are the center of the universe. They matter. They have value, and they deserve to be taking care of themselves, and they deserve to be around people that will take care of them. They deserve.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying the contrary in the heliocentric model.
Oh, no,
I
but
really hate this
I'm
philosophical
not.
approach
Listen, bro.
where you're a speck of dust and you're worthless and you're a nihilist and a materialist because you live in a heliocentric model. But really, it's the same thing, dude. It's the geo and helio are basically the same thing. They really are.
Bro,
We'll see at an observational standpoint.
this?
That's what Hubble's
Brother,
saying. From an
brother.
observational
Hold
standpoint, to
on,
me and you,
hold on.
it's the
It's
same
like this.
thing.
Look at it like this, bro. It's like this. It's like a guitar, right? If there is there a guitar in your room? You know what I mean? Now,
No.
like, you know what I mean? How come? Because you didn't really fall in love with
He's a
guitars.
glober. We don't have guitars.
No. But listen to what I'm saying. Is that like, look, you didn't fall in love with guitars. Let's say I fell in love with guitars. For me, it's something that, like, I like. It's an instrument that I use to write songs. The thing is
because
that
they're sexy, bro. It's because they're
it's
sexy. Bro.
well, but the point is that just much like this idea of geocentrism, what to you may seem something that you're not going to make sure that you're around, that like you don't have a guitar in your house. For me, I need this. It's, or not that I need it, but it's like it's something that it's a vehicle for me. And the point is that same thing with this idea for me. This idea has value for me, where it's something that maybe you overlook. Something to me, it's something that, like, thankfully even there's people here that know my music because
No,
I've
you
got
find
you know
disvalue in the heliocentric model. You
I
think that it's
do.
this
I do.
nihilistic,
Dude,
materialistic
I
thing, and I
fucking
don't have that perception of it.
okay, watch. Let me explain though. I am entitled to my opinion. And that thing
I
is
never said you
that's
weren't.
right. No, and all I'm trying to say is that is what I see as heliocentrism provides for the
No,
philosophy of these
I think that a
people.
lot of modern philosophers or modern scientific philosophers kind of push the masses in that, but that could be a whole different agenda perpetrated by different sects or groups of people. Who knows, dude? I'm just saying that this geocentric idea hasn't gone away. It's always been there. It's just at the forefront because of this flat Earth idea. That's the only reason. And it's a great approach. But look, I don't understand why flat Earth has to be the vehicle for us to explore our world around us. It should have been it shouldn't have been this explore to find it flat, but explore to find that it's the truth, what they're telling us. And by all measure, it seems to be the truth to people that really objectively look at it. So the people caught in the tail wake of it, will try to continue to push it as some philosophical, beautiful idea that they've come to. But really, the idea of us being in a vast universe is just as beautiful to me, in that it's more intricate than us. It's something that we just can't even explain. It's so great, it's so vast, it's so amazing. We just cannot explain it. And that's why there is dark energy and dark matter and stuff like that. The
I
outer
mean,
universe is ridiculous. It's crazy to
I,
think about.
I must say that I know very little, and that's all I have to say.
Ah, well, as long as you're accepting and willing to learn, then people will probably be here to teach you. It's just others have a different mentality on what they want to teach and what they want to believe and their bias, and then they lead people down the wrong path. And if people want to believe the earth is flat and they have a better life for it, I wouldn't be in this conversation. But I feel that for a lot of people, it brings out some demons, for lack of a better term. And for some people, it's exceptional. It's great. That's cool. But it's conflicting because it is placed in the truth community, and it's just objectively false. And people go around and try to pitch it and take down NASA and all this stuff, and it's a pipe dream. It's misdirected hostility. We're going after the wrong people, and people don't understand the comparison from the GDP to what NASA gets and what NASA would get if they were going to the moon and putting all these 24-hour cameras everywhere that all of the flat earthers insist. So it's just, I don't know, it's a mind game. And I've always been on the side of truth, objectively, I guess.
Yeah, I
Jim, are you
see
still
it's
here?
way
Yeah,
bigger
so
than NASA and flat Earth. It, that's not
Yeah.
you. It's way bigger than that. If you can't see that, then you you got your shutters on and you don't want to see.
Yeah. Well, there's some kind of nostalgia that people run into with the flat earth. I'm not saying that I didn't. I've described it as a psychedelic without taking a drug when I first got into it, because I was a very conspiratorial person, I would call myself. So I fell into it for a few weeks and really investigated it. But it really only took me a few weeks because I didn't care at the end of the day what it was. I just really want to get to the truth of it. And I would have been the best little flat earther if it was the truth. If there was actual solid evidence against the sphere, even, I would come out with it. But I just haven't found anything yet. Nothing even close to compelling. Nothing seems to be wrong with the model that we're prescribed. It seems to accurately predict everything. And we seem to be able to observe curvature as we, water doesn't bend. Well, here's a water droplet. Here's rain droplets. Here's, I mean, it's endless. And
But those are completely different phenomenons, Water.
I know, but
still
yeah. I'm just making the
that.
point that they're making the assertion water doesn't bend, water doesn't curve. Well, that assertion alone is not true. They're all water droplets from rain clouds and stuff like that. Water obviously does bend. Okay, so then we look at
micro versus macro. We don't have to go to micro versus macro.
Well, that's what Dell does. He goes and proves the flat Earth with very micro, and says that it's a flat Earth because of it.
And then
even though his
13 caveats, one after another. Then it's large bodies of water. Then it's large bodies of water at rest, and then and he just keeps redefining it and shifting the goalposts. And but still trying to make it sound like it's some legitimate law of science when it just isn't. A wave.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that everything still at this all based upon belief and faith, and they're all theory, and there's no actual proof of anything.
Well, that would be very subjective, I guess, because really, I would say that there's evidence. There's going to be, when there's claims like concave, flat, and spherical, there's going to be evidence for each one. And one of those evidence is probably going to weigh out the others. And so you can make very logical inferences with a preponderance of evidence, like I've said before, to come to the spherical reality. And then it's a whole philosophical approach to say, what is evidence? What is proof, epistemologically speaking? And then really it comes to what can we do as anybody on the panel here, observationally, experimentationally, with science to prove this. So there are very few things, and there are people trying to do those things, and anytime they're presented, they are dismissed with it's CGI, or it's fake, or that's too much curvature, or any other ad hoc fallacy. So people just got to get grips and outweigh which one weighs better, because it's really, you can only prove things to yourself. I can't prove anything to you. I can just show you evidence, and you would prove it ultimately to yourself. So that's what we're dealing with here, is people have different standards of evidence and standards of proof. People in the mainstream can look at a picture from NASA and say that's proof that the Earth is a sphere. Case closed. Other people here are way, way more skeptical. They're way, way more critical. They're way, way more biased. So in a different way, I guess. So it's just a combination of things, really.
Can I?
It's a philosophical idea. Go ahead, Negs.
Hey, I'm here.
Hi, Neg. Welcome.
Hey, boss has said y'all needed help or something, so here I am.
Yeah, I'm failing.
No, I'm just kidding. I did want to say though that or ask, have you ever rubbed a balloon and then put it under a running sink?
Running being the key word, flowing being the key word.
Yes. Are there oceans? Are there big bodies of water that aren't flowing? Are they stagnant? Where
does this have anything to do with natural science?
It does. The point is that you can bend water with static electricity.
Balloons are natural.
I know, balloons are CGI. And the other thing I don't understand is when people say, water doesn't stick to a ball. Well, the argument there is that applies just as well to any shaped Earth. So I don't really understand why I use that argument when it doesn't.
How common is it to find a perfectly spherical rock?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh yeah. Well, how does water stick to a flat Earth?
So, well, yeah, density and buoyancy. But the thing there is it's a joke in and of itself, because you're doing the experiment with something just astronomically smaller in the first place, like a little basketball or something, and you're placing the same liquid on it, right? But it's also under the same forces that the said water is curving on. So like I've told him a long time ago in our logic clinic, you can't do this on Earth. You would have to have a large object in space and put water on it, or go to the moon and put water on it and see if water would stick to it. Like you can't. It's a silly. It really is. That's why I ask myself: is this guy trolling? Is he a pro troll? Has he pulling the carpet from under me? Because there's no way that this guy is now saying that his flat water has like 20-foot waves of water. I mean, this is a joke. Like he's trolling me. I don't know, man. Jem, what do you think?
Well, I know what you mean, but I don't think he is. I honestly don't think he is. But I I'm often left perplexed, when I hear some people say the things that they do. I just think I can't believe adults are saying this. I mean, a good example would be, the CGI Osprey on Soundly's footage. And, for people to be making those arguments, it just seemed just so, I mean, no one who isn't in with us in this dark corner of the internet would accept those arguments as being anywhere near reasonable. Anyone would look at that footage and say that's a real bird sitting on a real electricity pylon. No one would say it's CGI. They just wouldn't.
Oh, so the bird's just CGI, everything else is real?
Well, I mean, that's kind of where they were going.
Oh, so the birds must be CGI, and then they're just expecting everyone to just kind of go, oh, so if the birds are CGI, then that means that the rest of it could be CGI as well.
But that's the nature of anomaly hunting, isn't it? It's like all you've got to do is find something which you don't think looks right, and you can bring the whole thing crashing down. And and often people make that argument. They're saying, well, we know NASA have lied to us, so we can't believe anything they say.
But they don't. They assert it and they believe it. They believe that NASA lied to them, or everyone.
Exactly.
They don't know.
Pre-suffers.
They know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They just say they know. They don't actually know. They just say they know.
It's sort of begging the question.
Yeah, it is.
It comes across as they don't. It's not genuine if they just say I think. They say they know.
I've been in so many debates that I can't even use satellites or NASA or anything like that because you'd get booed off the stage. Like seriously,
right. I know.
It's just it's out of the question. It's one of those things, just like you're saying. It's begging the question. Well, we know that NASA is fake. They provided all fake evidence, and there's no justification for it. So I mean, like my problem is maybe they faked some things, but you're saying that it's all fake. Like all of this video and all of this is all fake. And I'm just supposed to agree to this before we go into this.
This is the thing, and again, it's just like you say, if you even suggest that, that anything they're doing is real, it's and this is why I take this argument on quite a lot, because I just think, again, anywhere but this dark corner of the internet, to suggest to people that all of space exploration is being faked, all of it, not just NASA's, all of it is being faked.
I'm glad we finally got to this conversation. I don't think
anyone would do anything but laugh at you. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Literally, Jem, you've struck the nail firmly on the head, because what you're saying is, in order to believe in a flat Earth, yes, precisely.
That across to people who aren't,
it's completely illogical. Completely illogical. When you do just a little bit into research, because then it just piles on. Oh, so they created the F-1 rocket and they created all these different things, and then they're just putting it into the water for $50 million a day. They're just creating this, and and it's just this big ruse. So then you ask them, well, so I've seen a rocket launch, so was that fake? Was that CGI? Everybody has their own opinion on that. Then ultimately they don't go up into space. But now the new thing is that they're going into low Earth orbit. So that's great. And then they'll say that they're balloons. But then that begs the question, so we can track these satellites on a spherical Earth. Can we do these trackings on a flat Earth? Because I don't think that's possible.
What do you mean by low Earth orbit? They say low Earth orbit?
They're starting to say low Earth orbit a little bit.
What is it orbiting then?
Yeah, I've caught someone saying that.
Well, it's probably doing some fancy freaking analema up in the sky or something to stay up on a flat plane. I have no idea.
Just keeping its speed up there so it can stay there.
Well, if you're a Pizza Map subscriber, so airplanes, they correct their courses and they go around the Pizza Map. So I'm sure a satellite could just do the same thing. Just go around the freaking Pizza Map, dude. It's just
maybe the faster it goes, the like a plane, right? If the slower it goes, it's going to come down. So if it keeps its speed up, it's going to stay up there. Maybe that's how they think it works.
Well, that's another thing that's so funny is they can kind of grasp that there's a varying pressure system. It gets less and less as you go up, but they just cannot grasp this vacuum. They're thinking of a perfect vacuum first of all, attached to a non-vacuum. It's so impossible, but it's like they're neglecting like what 100 miles or more of a varying pressure gradient. Where when
it's
I go
just
up
a
to a
slow
mountain,
transition to nothing.
yeah, but when I go up to just even a mountain, there's a huge difference. You go up on a plane, they can only fly at certain altitudes. Most commercial jets and stuff. I mean, this stuff is
you don't have to go
solid.
Very far. I think on Everest, it's by the time you get to the top of Everest, it's like 4% of the sea level atmosphere or something. It's tiny. I don't know, it might be more than that, but it's very small.
So yeah, it's like they can agree on some things, and then I think the most important thing is to sit down with them and try to go through it with them logically. Because what most flat earthers do is they put you in the position of basically being a child, in that they're just going to ask you 100 questions, and usually thrown in with are litmus tests of sorts, where they're going to they're going to ask you think the moon landing was real. They're going to ask you 9/11 questions, and all this stuff gets brought into it.
I'm really sorry for you when people do that to you.
Yeah, I'm like,
I think it does leave you in quite a difficult position, because I don't think you do readily accept any of it, really. Not readily. I'm not saying you dismiss it, but at the same time, I don't think you easily accept it. And it's kind of a little unfair on you, really, I think, because I think you haven't really got a good way of expressing what your position is on it. You know what I mean?
I do. I think, look, my position, let's just say on the moon landing, is that it's more plausible that it's happened. There's more evidence. And for me to say, when I was born in the 80s, right? When I was born, to say something that happened 20, 30, 22 years or whatever before me, and say it's false completely is disingenuous. But to say it was completely true, everything that they did is completely true, is just as much almost to me. In that I think that there's enough evidence to lead one to believe that it did happen, and not that much evidence to lead one to believe that it didn't. And that's why I take the approach that it's more plausible. I don't need to say that it's 100% that it did happen, but I think they obviously did shoot something up. There's people that reported rocket separations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on the trajectory to go. They weren't. So do you know did they shoot pretty much straight up? They weren't going into orbit, so did they just shoot straight up?
They do go into orbit. Yeah, they do a parking orbit first, and then which I think was about 9 I think they did something like 9 orbits of the Earth or something like that.
Wow.
And then they shoot the rocket to get out of Earth's orbit.
Wow. So let me think here.
Or to get on a lunar trajectory, I should say. They're never out of Earth orbit.
So they've lost their first stage, right? By the time they're doing this orbit.
They've lost the first 2 stages. So there's just what they call the S4B left.
And that's more than the lunar module, right?
Right. It's got like the lunar module sort of stuck in the top of it, but still shielded, still covered by like an adapter thing.
So the M4B or whatever is able to take basically like retro motion or something, take itself out of orbit.
It's still quite a big rocket, and they fire that puts them on a lunar trajectory, and then believe it or not, while they're in that on that lunar trajectory, going at 25,000 miles an hour, the flat earthers are going to love this.
I know.
That is when they turn the command module, they separate, they turn the command module around, and they dock with the lunar module and pull it out of the top of the S4B rocket booster.
All with engine combusting in a non-atmosphere.
And then the whole lot, all of that goes to the moon. So the S4B, the 4 adapter panels that are covering the lunar module, and then the lunar module and the command module docked together. All of that lot went to the moon, and people were able to see it all, on with telescopes. As you can imagine, it's quite a, the 4 adapter panels. They're sort of flipping around in space, and so they're flashing as they're reflecting, and then not reflecting as they're flipping over. So, this is quite a it's a group of objects traveling together. So it's not that difficult to spot for someone with a good telescope, good visibility, who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, it could be plausible that they've never gone much further than. I think it is plausible actually that they haven't gone much further than low Earth orbit, because them not really doing it again in the new age, or I don't know, the 21st century. It would be nice, because people have the equipment to basically watch it. That'd be awesome to watch that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to happen next year, I think. Well, first
Amanda mission.
Yeah, well, this year there's going to be robotic missions. That's the end of this year and the beginning of next year. There's like 5 robotic missions, all from private companies. And then next year, NASA send their Orion capsule. Exactly. Thank you for that, because I can never remember it. I think the firstly they're going to do an unmanned. Send it round and send it to the moon and back unmanned, and then they're going to do it manned. I think both of those are supposed to be next year, I think.
Wow.
They better be televised, man. That's going to be awesome.
I think maybe the manned one is for 2019, so it's like it'll be 50 years on.
It'd be great. It'd be great if like I could get a hold of somebody and say, hey, if you're not part of this whole psyop, please, will you give a uncut video of a rocket going up? I mean, there's really I don't think there's a reason why they couldn't do it. But going up and doing this mission, right? Because I mean, really, we've been doing this since 57, I think. The Russians and the United States sending up things around the moon and all this kind of stuff. We don't have I mean, I hate to be a flat earther, but man, how cool would that be? Why we have the equipment? Why wouldn't you shoot that journey? have the Earth getting smaller and smaller, and you don't have to stream it live. You know, I mean, just give the unedited video of a mission like to the moon.
Isn't it sad? Sad the fact that you know that you're just not going to get that footage, no matter what.
I know, dude.
Well, I think
because they're part of it.
No, in this day and age, they need to stream it live.
I think there is a little problem in that. I think it would be these days. It would be easy to gather that footage, to, you know, equip the inside of a spacecraft with a few cameras that covered every angle. They wouldn't have to be very big. It wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't be a problem in terms of weight or anything like that. So it'd be very different, I think, from in the 60s and 70s. So I think it'd be easy to do that. But I think the problem is you accessing it. It's how is that going to come about? Because it's
accessing what?
If we go all of this, let's say it's video footage. I'm assuming of the inside of this spacecraft. Well, you know, it's a 3-day trip to the moon. So
I've been trying to get a point in. I just want to get one point in here, which is we're now talking about a they, and it's the they that previously in this conversation we've had discussion about idiots like Dell who can't replicate the gravitational pull that mere football would have while it's in the gravitational pull of Earth. I mean, how stupid is he? Surely the guy would need to go to space in order to do that. But now we're talking about a they going to space. Well, you know, I know I don't say no swearing on this show, but fuck that. What about me experiencing it? Why are we handing this arbitrary knowledge about what happens out in space over to a they? What's all this garbage? It just makes my toes curl that we now. Hold on. I'm just gonna get to the end of my one point. It's only one, right? We are so keen on this panel to dub people idiots who physically are incapable of going and experiencing this for themselves, but yet you are also keen to pass this power to a they. I see it as deeply pathetic.
Well, I
don't really get where you're coming from, truthfully.
The they that I'm referring to, if I did, would be the people who are qualified and to make that journey. And that isn't a case of handing that over to someone, because what about you? Well, that could be you. You know, you could qualify to do that and do that. I mean, okay, it's a very select job, but you know, there aren't many people who get that job because, you know, it's very select. There are very few opportunities in that career path. So
right, but on the one hand, my point then is that we're telling people to
very few people get to be a rock star.
I get that, but what I'm saying is we're telling people that they are idiots for not being able to conceptualize something while simultaneously handing over the keys to the actual existence of these things to a they. Well, why should I have to conceptualize?
Like I've just said, I don't think I am doing that. I think.
Well, let's logically go through this though. So we're saying they as in people that have the means, which is in part us, American taxpayer, putting these and doing these missions. So, I mean, what is it, a semantical error? Should we call them by their names, or? I mean, really, the whole thing with Dell is it's like, you know, it would happen the same way if you put water on a ball on a sphere, Earth with gravity, or on a flat plane with density and buoyancy. What is there to be expected when you put water into a bathtub? I ask him, on a sphere, would you expect that the water would be spherical or there would be some kind of a curve? So that's kind of where I'm going with calling him illogical. But I don't find your issue with us talking about missions that they're supposedly doing.
Well, because it essentially says that they are the god of that existence. We are talking about what flat earthers define as a deception. And we're at a key point where in the conversation we're talking about somebody physically doing something and you saying that's not good enough. You need to do your experiment in space. Or trust these guys over here. They're doing it for you. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, I don't think that was.
No, I wasn't. No,
I think what Tim was, if I may, Tim, sorry, but I think I think the point where Tim was going with Dell was not that he should do the experiment in space, but he should realize that in order for his demands to be met, it would need to be done in space.
I would agree.
And that's what he, as Tim pointed out, that's what he pretends not to understand. But he understands that. You know, he's been told that many times now, and he's intimated to that a few times. So you know, he understands that. But he
right, we all get that. But in this instance, we now defer to authority. Correct?
Well, we were discussing how to avoid doing that, how to evidence what was happening.
Give me that crap. I've just listened to 10 minutes of you eulogizing about how wonderful it was to get some footage. Some footage. You're having me on. I mean, I'm going to butt out at this point because everyone in the chat's saying it. This is just like, what?
Well, okay. Well, we can argue that point.
I'm not going to. I've said at this point, I've interjected way too much.
I'll argue with the people in chat then. But if they think that the only way to have any reasonable knowledge that something is real is to personally experience it, is absurd. And you know, I've made this argument plenty of times before. You'll have heard me do it.
We've had this argument. I should just say, rather than getting annoyed, promised myself I wouldn't do this, but it's such a good panel, I can't help myself. Right, go to Nathan Oakley and watch me debate Jen Panda on exactly this exact same point. So I'll just shut up. I'm really sorry. I couldn't help myself.
And we went through a long process of you demanding that I go and smell the lady across the lake, or
no, not that again.
And then I asked you if you believed that Fiji existed, and you just abandoned the philosophy and said, well, I don't use it for everything, which just revealed your confirmation bias.
So hold on. So if flat earthers had the means, say in 10 years, you know, quote unquote, space travel is more accessible, would you, if they were able to send up a satellite or something to the moon or some orbiter or something with video on it, I mean, would you believe it? That's kind of the conversation we were having. Is the whole Dell and the whole NASA thing that we're talking about was completely separate. I would say, I was just throwing it out there that it would be interesting if, while they're doing this said mission, that they would actually have one time a uncut video of a rocket going up into space. This is one contention with the flat Earth that I agree with. There isn't really. You can watch all rocket launches. There's none that are uncut.
Take it easy on Tim. He was just trying to be a flat earther for a minute. You know, he was trying to fit in with the big boys.
I'll try and ask Nathan a question. He might not want to answer, and that's fine. But
I think it's only fair if I do, because I've butted in so much. I think it's only fair if I do give you a response.
Well, my question then is this: that if as Tim says, that it came to pass that you were able to go to space, or that any one person was able to go to space, how many people? Let's say by the time this happens, you're too elderly and infirm to take this journey yourself. How many people have to go to space before you'll accept that that's possible?
Is you want me to put a specific number on it?
Personally, have to experience it.
Okay, I'd say.
Is there a point where? Sorry, go ahead.
There is.
Oh shit.
There's when it's commonplace, then I'd accept it. If I could not do it myself physically, then that would be my acceptance level. But at the moment, it's far from that. You know, it's not commonplace at all.
Yeah, I agree. Space travel is not commonplace. There's some holes to be had in it. So from a philosophical approach, I don't really think that equates a flat Earth. I would more say that it's something like they can't get out as far as they say they can. It might be geocentric. It might be something else that would lead me to believe with that supposition. But I think that it's not solid. And you know, there's something to be said about science where this kind of stuff is not really repeatable. I mean, we can observe maybe satellites, observe their tracks and stuff like that, but we can't repeat this science that they're doing. And to a certain extent, on a certain level, it is faith-based.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yes.
How many people on this panel know how and have changed their car's oil?
I have. I've done that.
I do.
Sure.
I take apart engines.
No kidding. So how many don't?
I
I
don't.
assume the rest. I don't either. I don't know. I mean, I could try, but I trust the folks that know how to do it to do it.
Right.
I don't question that their their integrity or anything like that. I don't need to know how to know that they do it correctly. And I'm
In
fine with
fairness to the claim, though, yeah, no, it is space and the images we get. Like, if you don't know exactly how the images are generated, and if you didn't make or design the cameras that took the images, so you know, like, how that image should look, having designed the camera and knowing how it captures an image, without certain pieces of specific knowledge, having engineered the technology in space, you have to take things on faith. And I don't think that's such a bad thing. But
Well, in the case of what Negator just said, I would like to say that, yeah, most times when you do take your car into a legitimate place, you're going to get your oil changed correctly. But at another place, a Mexican place or something like that, not to be a racist, but you might get some used oil in there, or something a product that's
Or it's not even
actually
going to
what
get
you're getting
changed,
prescribed.
and they've lied to you and told you your oil needs changing, and they haven't done anything, and they've charged you
So
for
this
it.
can be checked. This can be checked. Your oil can be checked and see if it did the job and stuff like that. But everything with space is what they give us, and that's kind of the point that flat earthers have in a roundabout way.
The can be, though, like, to what extent is the can be relevant? All of you can be astronauts.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
true.
can be pilots.
That's true. No, that's true. And there's no one stopping us from doing that. No one trying to stop people from signing up to work for NASA.
Hold on. There's not
To be astronauts? I don't know about
there's not a
that.
selection. Yeah, there's not a
That's a
selection
good old boys
process,
club
dude.
right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, that's not true at all, though.
No, Negator.
it is.
Negator. When you grow up, you could be an astronaut. It's okay.
Now,
Like,
Musk, if you haven't heard, has made the BFR, and he wants to, in 2018, start selling trips to anywhere on the planet in under an hour. That's the sales pitch. And if he's able to do that, it's going to become commonplace a lot quicker than we might have imagined.
What's the BFR?
A big fucking rocket.
You can't swear on this stream.
Oh, well, that's the acronym. I'm sorry.
No, just big flipping rocket, or big fudging rocket, or just big flying rocket, dude.
I don't understand this insistence that you have to personally do something in order to know something.
No, you're really low.
You're really quiet.
I am?
Yeah.
What?
Is that any better?
A little better.
Now it is.
I don't understand the insistence that you have to personally do something in order to know something.
Right.
Well, that's why we deem you as a cuck.
Well, I think it's part of the seeing is believing type attitude and returning to the senses and that
being
whole
logical
thing.
and technical, being logical and
But
technical.
I don't think that you apply that philosophy really very regularly.
I agree with Gem Panda on that. I don't think, yeah, and I think you can be logical, flat earthers, and I think you can be logical and technical without having firsthand experience of things. You can use deduction and induction to discover things for yourself.
Hey guys, hey everybody, hold on just a second. Sorry, Issa. I just want to thank everybody, because if you all think about it for a second, this whole thing goes all the way back to when Validation Boy dropped it on all and said that those objects in the sky.
Okay. What?
And it's gone.
I was going to say they're not tangible.
That wasn't me.
But then,
That wasn't me.
Going to say they're not tangible.
Yeah, that uses the same argument for
This is
horizon.
This is just bad science.
That's what it all comes
Oh.
I mean, what I see,
What's this noise?
what is
It's an internet
I-
problem.
It all
We've
comes
just
back to.
everyone's
It all
dropped
comes
into
back to-
back. Don't
I
worry.
want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for bringing this conversation to this level that I tried to bring it to 6-8 months ago. Now, I want to personally thank all you guys. And this is a dream. This is the best of the best right here. This is a dream panel.
It's been at this level for a while. I don't want to let you take all that credit.
Well, thanks to me. It's good.
Thanks to the human intellect that
No,
everyone
it-
has.
You guys finally caught up, and that this debate has come down to this factor of what's tangible and what's not tangible, thanks to what I was talking about. And
The terms you put this into are hilarious.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay, it's simply bad science to insist that you have to personally do something in order to have knowledge about something. And I see this
Bad
consistently in
science.
the flat Earth. Is a complete misunderstanding of how we know things and how we can come to know things and how we can justify our beliefs. Flat Earthers don't understand science at all. They don't understand the process of knowledge formation at all. Period.
That's not true. You can't say that. You can't say that if ask them.
What?
Sure, Brenda can say
In
that.
my experience, I have yet to meet.
Am I getting muted?
In my experience, I have yet to meet a flat earther who understood even the most rudimentary facts about the methodology of science or the philosophy of epistemology, how we know things. And I have yet to see that.
Brenda, you don't even admit that the United States is a corporation, even though I showed you the title. You read
Super
it.
relevant. Thank you, Issa.
No. It's a case in point of like not being able to see something when it's right.
No, it's not at all.
Are you sure?
You mean you mean like the text in the text that you cite that directly refutes exactly what you say?
Brenda, you are a sweetheart.
So I understand that you like to confuse and misdirect, and sidetrack conversations. As you get uncomfortable, when things are not going your way. I'm just going to reiterate here.
You're getting angry because you know you're wrong. You're getting all upset over there because you know that you don't have a beat on things. You're out of step, Brenda. It's all good.
Well, I mean, just because we can't convince you of our position doesn't mean our position's wrong. And if we're getting mad, you should assume that it's because we're frustrated that we thought we could convince you and we're unable to. But that still doesn't mean we're wrong.
And the point is you can't open your idea up to an idea. You can't open your head up to an idea.
No, it means that we weren't able to open you up to our idea. That's what it means.
Tim already conceded earlier in this call.
Are you sure?
Tim already conceded earlier in this call that it's really a faith.
I'm sure of that, Issa.
Yeah, are you sure?
So the point
you have
is
to admit that you can't entertain certain ideas without experience. Otherwise, you'd be a fool, right?
Sure. You can't entertain certain
You
ideas
said
without
that before,
experiencing,
right?
but
Didn't you just
as
say
long
that
as you see,
didn't you
if you
just
see
say-
the idea, if you
didn't you
see
just
it
say-
without
hold on.
experiencing it, you can then have a very good grasp of it.
Yeah,
Well,
I wanted to.
you just
How
said
can you see
just
something
said
without
before.
experiencing it?
Well,
How do you
sure,
see
I guess
something and not
that's a good
experience
point. I was just meaning like seeing somebody else experience something.
The moon, the sun, the stars. Those are all things that
So
you see that you don't.
objective experiences prove what?
You're not fully experiencing those things. You can see them. They're not empirically existing in the exact manner that you say that they are.
Seeing is pretty much the definition of an
Tim is
empirical
Tim,
experience.
hold on. Let's deal with one point at a time because Tim was on point right there saying to Lewis, technical reality that whether you want to accept it or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think about it. It's how it is. It's that you have to have some kind of experience of something to know for certain about something. To say otherwise would be just disingenuous, like Brenda is.
Not necessarily. We don't have any experience of history, but nonetheless, we know the people that
Right.
lived
That's why we
before
call it
us.
history.
We know the people who came before.
Isn't history?
How can you learn any concept or set of ideas without experiencing it?
So if you've never conducted any plain sailing, then you probably shouldn't reference plain sailing. Is that what you're getting at?
Good point.
Well, that's not the point at all, actually.
The
No,
point
it's
actually
a
is,
different one. It's an underhanded one, not
I
related
think we're using slightly different means
I
of
get you.
experience here.
actually is Tim and Lewis and anyone that's really against the flat Earth, even though they're at heart flat earthers like you guys. Okay, just get over it.
You ought to get over it.
They're still in denial of the fact that because objects in the sky are intangible, that all their evidence that they use to prove the sphericity, the alleged sphericity of the Earth, relies on that stuff.
The only things that are intangible are forces.
Relies on that stuff. It's intangible, and it's concluded that what you do is belief, just as much as flat earthers believe. Tim already conceded it earlier in this call.
So what is your argument showing us that the objects in the sky are intangible?
Because everything that Tim uses, or for example, to prove the sphericity of the Earth relies on intangible, alleged objects in the sky. There's no actual ground-based evidence.
No, I'm looking for an argument from you.
Anybody can bring that the Earth is not a flat plane.
I didn't understand that. You cut out.
Validation boy, I strongly recommend getting a telescope at some point in your life and looking through it at the moon.
Because Brenda keeps talking over me. Everything that they use,
He's a troll.
Everything that they use to prove the sphericity of the Earth in their eyes is based on things that are intangible and unknowable. They're X factors
Like
that they just
telescopes?
No. Anything that you're looking at in the sky to say that, oh, the Earth is now a sphere.
That's just begging the
strongly recommend getting a telescope and looking through it.
And looking at them and still not touching them. Intangible. You see that?
Look long and hard. Look long and hard.
Hey, look at it like this though.
So,
Hey,
so you only have knowledge of things you've touched. Is that right?
Yes. VB, let me get into something here. So here's the thing.
You
right?
don't know that I don't know
Jeremy,
a brand of car that you haven't.
like
you don't know that.
Look at like this. Look at like this. We don't know.
Validation boy can't know that he's on the internet.
Gentlemen, the thing.
No,
is
that
this,
proves flat Earth.
Like this is that like if we have instruments that tell us what gives us information that leads us to believe that the sun is made out of different materials, right? Now we can take that information and we can compile it together, and the assumption is that it's made of forgive me, is it
helium,
the chemical
and hydrogen.
helium and hydrogen? Yes, thank you.
Mostly.
And so or it's the byproduct of one of them's the byproduct of the burning of the other was something. But it's my thing is that we get that information from a spectroscopy, right? And so
burning in a vacuum.
Hold on. Right. So, but that information is what leads us to believe that we know the makeup of it. We cannot confirm that, but we can either rely on the data set that we have and say that that is the end all be all of it, or we can look at that information and accept and understand the idea as it's proposed, but keep a window open for another alternative.
Why do you say
science does? That's literally what science
does. Do you know what the makeup of the sun is, Lewis?
What about science says it's set in stone?
Well, that's the thing is that's why you're fighting
it's
for
not.
that to be set.
It's not. It never has been. It never will be.
So
hopefully.
We're getting there. This is baby steps.
Your correctness, which relies on that, can't be set in stone, and it never will be. Never will be able to. You're correct.
So we may discover the sun is something entirely different, but for the purposes of demonstrating the motion of celestial bodies, it's good enough just thinking about it as a big bright light in the sky.
Yeah, but until then, you're just gonna go with that and say just that whatever NASA says is true.
No, this is false.
Look, you guys bring up NASA so much. You could try and leave it out and see how much we bring it up.
So all of this is nonsense. We know for a fact that the sun is composed mostly of hydrogen and small amounts of helium, and that it is a nuclear furnace. We know this for a fact.
No, it's Brenda's right. How we made the technology. You understand how we made the technology?
Right. And at no point in the future will we suddenly discover it's made out of Swiss cheese. It's not going to happen.
Melted cheese.
Or melted cheese. or cheddar cheese.
Issa brought up spectroscopy. I think that's probably not the right way to put it, but we understand what you mean. And the spectrometers.
It is actually.
Yeah.
When do you know how we came up with those? Like we used them here on Earth first, and then we pointed them at the sky, and we were like, "Oh shit!"
I did in high
You did
school.
this?
Yes, in high school. Yes,
Yes.
in physics.
Yeah, I did it at school.
We did it.
Wow.
We did it. So what you do is you
That's
burn.
part of the brainwashing, right?
Yeah, you burn an element like copper or something like that, or iron.
Oh, not interstellar. You're talking in the lab.
Yeah,
Right.
you burn it.
That's
and
part.
then it goes through a prism. The light is broken up into its component parts, and you see what those what parts correspond to the element copper.
And all of that's happening. And all of that's happening.
Look at. Excuse me. I'm explaining this to you.
All of that's
Shut
happening.
up and listen. Shut up and listen. Shut up and listen.
It's not the same thing that would be
listen.
happening.
Just
Alan,
listen.
Boy, stop.
Just listen.
Well,
Just listen.
First. Let's get there first.
Just shut up and listen.
Acknowledge that then.
Validation boy. Shut your mouth.
Brenda.
Shut your mouth.
Okay,
And
so
open
keep
your
spelling
mind.
your
and allow
Brenda
some-
is Harvey Weinstein. Brenda is Harvey Weinstein, everybody.
Fucking psyop meme and shit.
So we do the experiment on Earth. It shows us these lines show up in this spectroscopic equipment when we burn this element, and then we have that as a reference, and then you look at the sun or a star or any distant light source. You can use spectroscopy to know what is in a light in a lamp.
Yep.
In a street lamp.
You can do that because every single element produces a different fingerprint of light when light interacts with it. So even if the thing you're looking at isn't producing light, if there's light reflecting off of it, you can use that reflected light to deduce what's in it, because it creates a unique fingerprint, because the light waves are so small and interact on a quantum level and have quantum differences after bouncing off of the object.
And as far as it being tangible, the light is a physical. Light is a
Brenda
physical.
and VB,
entity.
can you both stop talking over each other, please?
Light is part of the physical world, and it travels from the source of the light to your eye, and in a real sense, it is tangible in the sense that the light impacts the retina of your eye. It causes certain chemical reactions to take place and send a signal up your optic nerve and up to V1, which is your vision center, and causes you to have an experience. There is a direct, unbroken, causal connection between your eye and every object that you see. You are physically connected to the universe.
Through light. It's a really
Yes.
cool thing.
Could I ask a question then? The experiments that are done in the lab, are they done outside of a gravitational field and devoid of any gravity and in a vacuum? Are those experiments done in that way?
No, but you wouldn't expect there to be a difference. And when we use spectroscopy in space, there aren't any differences from what we observe in the lab.
Who's this we?
Oh, good grief! Nice nitpick.
Sorry. Just 1 second, Brenda. Who is this we?
Humanity.
No. Who's doing?
Science
Let's just get him to just say it.
Yes,
Who's
science
doing
is a collective undertaking
Brenda,
of
can't help
humanity.
yourself, can you, Brenda? Who's doing spectroscopy in space, Lewis?
Well, it isn't
We don't need
just
to.
spectroscopy, because when you if you're doing
Jem's answering
astronomy,
for him. It's all good.
Hold on. When you're doing astronomy, you use filters to filter for certain elements, and that essentially works in exactly the same way. And so, lots of amateur astronomers, Mark Taylor is an example, who's recently done photography, using these filters, and they filter for certain elements, and by doing that, you're able to see these nebula that you aren't
completely
able to see
ignored my point, Jem. So I'll just get back to Lewis. We're talking about in space. Unless you're telling me that, unless you're telling me, hold on, I've not made this is only the second point in what is now nearly a 2.5 hour show, right?
Go ahead.
So we've had a claim about spectroscopy being done in space, and I want to know who's doing it.
No, it's not done in space.
No, it is done in space. That's actually there's satellites that do mineral.
Oh, okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah, there's satellites that do mineral spectroscopy for the commercial mining industry on Earth.
You can write that down. I'm wrong.
And who puts the satellites up there?
All sorts of people, all sorts of countries.
Name one of the companies.
India, China, Russia, United States,
specifically.
ULA, SpaceX.
A space relate. So are they under the guise of the space agencies? Is that what you're saying?
Under the guise? There's no guise. That's their actual identity.
Private enterprises
they're independent commercial enterprises.
The reason I bring it up is we've been told specifically by Lewis, see how long it takes to get to NASA. And here we are talking about these agencies.
We're not talking about NASA.
It doesn't have to be done from space.
We're talking about these agencies, they. Lewis said we. Well, it's not we, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
it's not.
I think it's fair to say we if it includes people like amateur astronomers.
But it doesn't. I've already said this, but they're not doing spectroscopy in space.
Right.
For God's sake, man.
All right, Nathan, I can see you're not going to let this go. So I'll just, give you the bone here.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's not individually us, the people, talking here on the panel.
That's exactly my point. That's why I've laboured it.
All right. It's a moot point. All right.
It's not. We are defer. Yeah, it's my only point I've made on the show. I've made it twice in two different ways. It's my only point.
It's not a moot point because it's recognizing, and this is what you guys don't want to give up, is the whole notion that we is collective mankind. And the issue is that you have to say they, and by saying they, it means you can't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you got me. You convinced me of everything.
Well, you can see why I believe that.
I'm not trying to convince you of everything. There's no need to be facetious.
It depends what you mean by no.
No need.
What do you mean when you say no?
Just concede gracefully.
I'm
concede.
I can't.
The point you're making is entirely unreasonable. That the only way you can know something is to personally experience.
Concede is not
in this example. We're talking about specifically about spectroscopy. You and Lewis now want to open it up and say, "Oh, we've converted me to it." No. Why would you want to do that? That's pretty low. Come on, guys. I mean, this is only my second objection.
It's your only point.
And you're using these tactics where I'm not trying to convince you of anything about everything.
It's your only point.
Yeah, I realise it's my only point. That was my point, that it was my only point. But thanks for reiterating, Lewis.
Yeah,
this is more fun than I thought. Anyway.
You can do spectroscopy in your garage to prove that it's a legitimate method of determining the composition of an element.
In space? We can do it in space.
I've done myself in a school science lab.
There's nothing about doing it in space that would change the result.
You need a spectrometer.
Yeah, those are cheap. They're easy to come by.
All you need is a prism.
But water on a ball, there would be, right? So water on a ball, we definitely need to do that one in space, right?
We need
spectroscopy, not necessary in space. Water on a ball, definitely must.
No, they show us cool things in space because it's like, hey, we can afford to do some extra things. Why not show other people what we can do? Because the primary objective, Nathan, is not to share everything with the world. It's to discover what the truth of the matter is. Because you have to remember, NASA's part of the military. So there's some things they're not going to be telling people. Because the military doesn't tell people everything. And they shouldn't.
They show...
Well, I don't know why we're talking about NASA.
Water on a ball has to be done far enough away from a mass that's causing a gravitational force.
And also...
for the ball to have a large enough gravitational force to attract water. That's the point. And that's why that argument is illogical. Because it accepts the idea of gravity that it may attract the water to the ball, but it doesn't accept the fact that there's gravity on Earth that would affect the result of the experiment. Sorry, Lewis, go ahead.
I was going to say, in space, the reason the water turns into a ball is because of surface tension, which you can think about like small scale gravity on the molecular level. So if you have any misconceptions about gravity, you know, that might clear it up, is surface tension itself.
Yeah, and I also
go ahead.
I wanted to kind of touch a little bit earlier. Someone said that you have to take all the space stuff based on faith, which is really a misuse of the word faith, right?
Right.
Yes,
I wanted to get that. Go ahead.
There's two notions of faith. There's two notions of faith. One is belief without evidence, and the other is simply trust.
Yep, and we have trust. So blah 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 blah.
And sometimes scientists betray that trust, and they conduct professional misconduct. They fake results sometimes, and they have been caught out in doing that. There was that Korean scientist who faked results in cloning, I think, and he got caught.
We used to have lead in all of our gasoline, and we were pumping lead out into the atmosphere for everyone to breathe. It was really great. And some guy found out because he was trying to create an environment that was totally lead-free so that he could determine a certain type of characteristic of something he was studying. But the environment kept contaminating his results. So he spent some absurd amount of money creating an environment with absolutely no lead. And in the process of doing that, he discovered that lead was everywhere and that it was coming from car exhaust. So we were saved by a potentially huge problem.
There's actually some good documentaries on that guy.
So I mean, we should trust people, but we should also not trust them sometimes. But the best thing to do is take them at their word.
Well, you know,
just keep moving.
That's why people insist on proper science things being published within a scientific journal, because the process of vetting research for a scientific journal is that they go over it, and the reviewers go over the experiment, and they are looking for flaws in what the person did. Science is a process of it's an oppositional process. You are fighting every day for your ideas, and if your idea doesn't make it, tough titties for you. That's too bad. It failed, and that's the exact opposite of what we see in the conspiracy theory community as well as the flat Earth community. In there, every idea is simply granted and lauded as if it's somehow the truth, and that's the exact opposite in science. Ideas have to prove themselves, and if they can't, they're discarded.
I have to say, though, it is partially Nathan here has noticed this problem where flat earthers and conspiracy groups, they'll just listen to other people's ideas and not rebut them, and that's why he made this platform here, is because he felt like there should be a space for people to rebut. And so I mean, hats off to Nathan for that.
Yeah, the problem is that at some point it's going to become apparent to people that they don't have the evidence, and their theories are false, and then at that point the emotional commitment to the beliefs or the religious commitment to the beliefs will take over, and like the previous Earth discussion,
what if that happens to you, Brenda? What if that happens to you?
And
then
I
we'll
changed
be happy
my
to be
beliefs.
proven wrong. We'll be happy to be proven wrong. Yep.
Cool. Good to hear.
I changed my beliefs.
Yeah.
At least ideally, I'm a failed human being like anybody else. I make mistakes.
The ISS is fake. It never shows lightning storms. It never shows the wildfires in California. It never shows meteor showers. NASA is full of
You can see, Music Man, you can actually see lightning from space if it's nighttime. And the forest fires, I don't know why you'd expect to be able to see those. I don't know why you'd expect to be able to see meteor showers. But the lightning storms, you can see those from space.
I've seen ISS footage with lightning in the footage. So you're just wrong. You're just wrong.
I don't know, Music Man left.
Yeah, I
What?
know, but his words still are here, and they didn't go on.
Drive by
I
trolling.
don't know what he said. But he just was like, "Look, what
That
are you
footage
doing?
only partial view there.
Your ISS is wrong. Everything you say is wrong."
Don't be a dick.
Where I was going at with the faith.
Yeah, the ISS sucks though. So do people that believe in it. What?
How do you know that? What does that mean? What does that even mean? The ISS sucks. What is that
I'm just
supposed
talking
to
to
mean?
Brennan. I'm just pointing out the
It's
obvious.
just saying because it's in a vacuum and vacuums suck. That's what it was.
Vacuums don't suck.
They don't. What you know
I
about?
don't think you get your own jokes.
How do you clean your carpet, man? You gotta use a vacuum cleaner. Use a vacuum.
Yeah.
I clean my carpet with air pressure from the atmosphere.
Good luck with that because it doesn't suck.
Actually, it does.
Exactly.
Oh wait, so it
the
does
atmosphere
suck.
doesn't
now.
suck. It blows. It blows
so it doesn't
into a
suck.
vacuum.
But it sucks.
That's why you whistle so good, right, Stanley? What's up?
True.
That's actually how it works.
Yep,
See,
vacuum
this is
cleaners
the
have a
other-
turbine in there that blows air. Yep.
It creates a void, and then air pressure forces.
Oh, you're talking about
without
negative
external
pressure.
Air. It creates a void, and then air pressure forces the external air through the mechanism of the vacuum cleaner, and in the process, pulling up dust and dirt into the filter where.
Just like in space, all that air pressure and stuff, like in space.
There's no air pressure in space.
Yeah, exactly. Or is there? Or do you really even know it all?
Validation.
Air
Boy,
pressure.
have you ever opened up a vacuum cleaner and had a look inside?
So how
Air
come
pressure
there's
is created-
there's
air pressure is
space
created
dust?
by gravity. Air pressure is created
There's
by
the space
gravity.
dust that falls
Space dust
onto
is the
the
result
Earth,
of
comes into the
meteors.
The space dust.
Steve,
There's stuff that comes in. This
Yes.
is on Vsauce, right?
How
Vsauce.
is that relevant, Steve?
Well, dude. So wait,
It's
is the
intense
vacuum a
space
vacuum? Or is the Earth a vacuum?
Cleaned it up.
A lot of my conversations with flat earthers consists of me educating them about grade school physics.
Space pixie.
This whole nonsense about having a pressurized area and next to a non-pressurized area. I mean, it's total nonsense. It's like they completely ignore the gradient.
That's what causes wind. That's what causes
Maybe
wind.
there's just misconceptions about vacuums. I mean,
Low and high pressure causes
Yeah,
wind.
you all suck.
So I mean,
we all suck.
difference in pressure is actually a lot of what causes things to work around here on Earth.
Well, yeah, aren't your lungs somewhat of like a vacuum, right?
Exactly.
Well,
but they work differently than a vacuum cleaner.
So we all suck and don't suck at the same time.
Your lungs create a difference in pressure by expanding their volume, and the air pressure from the outside, that's actually the atmosphere filling that void.
Yeah, like the atmosphere that's in space, like all that stuff.
Well, there isn't an atmosphere in space. I don't know what you're going on about.
So this is the majority of the conversations with flat earthers is teaching them things they should have learned.
How do we know? Because you can drive up a mountain a couple of miles. You can notice a
Because there are people there.
Validation boy, it's not about whether it's true or not, okay? It's about what the theory is, and if you understand the theory, all right? And you're saying things that are contrary to the theory, so it's not relevant, and you're not actually attacking the theory.
Validation boy, have you produced that expose on me yet?
No, because it's just
I'd be most interested in learning what division of the FBI or CIA I'm attached to.
I never said anything about FBI, CIA agent at all. Right?
But look, if you want to attack the theories, you should get them right. There's no atmosphere in
out to
space
Explanator.
according to modern science. I understand you might not believe it and might not think that it's knowable, all right? But if you're going to attack the theory, you should get the theory right.
And you can make a reasonable assumption that there's no atmosphere in space because you can see how quickly the atmosphere thins out on Earth. soon as you go up a couple of miles, you notice a huge decrease in atmosphere already. So you can make an educated guess that if you keep going higher, there'll be less and less atmosphere.
Yeah, and also like water.
There's no
and
rational
things.
reason to believe it would increase either. That's the other thing. I mean,
Vapor pressure is a big part of it too.
What we're able to extrapolate from the information we have is that the atmospheric pressure decreases as we increase altitude, and there's no rational reason to think otherwise. So, you know, you're basically trying to say, well, how do you know? Well, how do you not know?
Well, because none of us personally have ever crossed that line. That line where space began, where the actual space began.
You don't have to personally witness something in order to know it.
Yeah.
Well, then,
yep, just like Soundly's picture there.
Yeah, plus with water, as we go deeper, the pressure goes up. So we see this also here on Earth in many places. So it's not unreasonable to think that there's no atmosphere in space.
If you ever go skiing and you go in a shop on a mountain, you see that all of the things that are vacuum packed, like bags of potato chips or packs of meat, are all inflated because they're packed at sea level air pressure and then ferried up a mountain, and all the because of the lower air pressure, the air inside them just expands, and all the things that aren't vacuum packed, I should say, but are sealed.
Just like balloons. Like if you let go of a balloon, it'll pop eventually for the same reason.
Right. So it's easy to test this idea that there's a pressure.
It all comes down to what really happens at that border between pressurized system of Earth.
But if you follow that through to its logical conclusion, the idea of a pressure gradient, then there is no border. It just gets thinner and thinner.
Correct.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stanley. Sorry.
Well, there is a border. It's simply arbitrarily defined.
Right. Sure. Just like
common line or something like that.
Yeah. Just like a lot of the other lines we draw are pretty arbitrary.
Right. Like the line between yellow and orange. People didn't used to.
It's a gradient.
Yeah, orange is a new color. We didn't know about. We didn't even have a name for red yellow until people brought oranges back from the New World back to Europe, and they started calling them oranges, and then they named the color after the fruit.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Me either. Yeah.
It was probably some sort of country overthrowing to get the oranges spread around the world. That happened with bananas too.
Oh, that's odd. Yeah, I always used to think it was remarkably convenient that oranges were orange.
I wanted to finish.
There's no rhyme for orange either, is there? I don't think there is.
Actually, if you Google M&M,
I think there is. I think orange is a rhyme for orange.
What?
Bridge.
Borange. I'm pretty sure that's the word. Yeah, I've heard this in a, like it was on QI or something like that.
Epistemology for truth's been trying to.
Right. So while these guys are chitter-chattering away about the colour orange, I'm going to do a final plug to this show, which will be ending in approximately 5 minutes' time. So, if you are new to Nathan Oakley channel, which is actually my backup channel, hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you're new to me in general, click on the link in the info box to subscribe to my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, where you can see interviews and vlogs about the Flat Earth, including my opinions, although they have been expressed a little bit on this show, more than I really should have as a impartial or semi-impartial moderator. So as I say, if you did want to get some last points in or do some last minute trolling, feel free to click the link in the info box to join the show live. So if you want to participate in future shows, simply click on the link in the info box below these videos. So there's a few people joining for a last minute word. I will transition back to the show and you can listen in for the last 5 minutes before I thank you all for joining us and end the show there. So I'll transition back now.
You can watch this stuff with the telescope in orbit in many cases, certainly with the ISS and other satellites. I'm an amateur astronomer, and there's many times near dusk when I'm looking at stuff, and especially if I'm looking at stuff on the ecliptic, I've had satellites fly through my field of view because the satellites are so bright, even though the sky is dark, shortly after sundown, because the satellites are still in full sun, even though the sky is dark. So there's you can make you can make a pretty educated assumption that this stuff is real. It's not just going on faith. It's you have a lot of evidence to support it. A lot more evidence than a lot of other things you take for granted in your life every day.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Now there's a natural gap, guys. I'm just going to say that I'm going to probably round out this show in about 5 minutes' time. So it seems like we've come to a natural end. The debating has turned to talking about Borange. So
Orange.
Yeah. It's sporange.
Don't believe that's a word.
No, it's not. It's sporange.
Orange with a B.
Unless I touch it, it doesn't exist.
Scottish word.
If I can't touch orange, then I don't believe in it.
What's the definition of orange? We need to find out that.
Oh, good grief.
The only word in the 20-volume historical Oxford English Dictionary that rhymes with orange is sporange, a very rare alternative form of sporangium, a botanical term for a part of a fern or similar plant.
Truly unrelated to the shape of the Earth.
Use that in the next time you play
Scrabble.
Something like that.
Well, it's a common word round our way.
What's that from? Urban Dictionary.
What year was this word added to Webster's dictionary?
Probably right after orange.
Yeah.
1998.
But let's put out the misconception that there's no word that rhymes with orange, but we'll put in this really obscure word that does, so that smartasses can bring it out in Google Hangouts in the future.
What about arrange?
In the flat Earth debate with Nathan Oakley. Thanks for doing this, Nathan. It's a lot of fun being here. And I mean, the real winner here is you with your channel. So, and I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea just as a business or just on its own. On its own, it's a great idea hosting this.
I'd agree with you if every single video hadn't been demonetized. So I've got to be honest, it's not really been that financially successful at all.
Well,
if I'm
but
honest.
Attention, people's attention is really the most valuable thing. You never know what you're getting. Once you got someone's attention, you never know what may come.
Absolutely.
People aren't making a lot from their monetized videos anymore either, though.
Oh no, but the few quid I did get, I definitely appreciated. I mean, I think about consistently since I've been doing this about $60 a month, which sounds like peanuts, but when you live on a real shoestring, you want that $60. You know what I mean? I mean, I think from my actual job, I take home probably about $600 or $700 a month. Very, very little. So $60 extra is like 10% extra on my salary. So I really want that $60. So when I punt my super chat, if I get this channel up to 1,000 and put a super chat in, my plug goes from like and subscribe and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate and support this channel and put money in super chat. I hope none of you say a word.
It'll be your platform at the time.
Well, of course, we won't say a word because by then, of course, we'll all be getting an appearance fee. So
you'll be claiming parts of the donations, will you, Jim?
I was thinking about that earlier.
It'd be nice, Phoebe, because most of what you have said, I'll be honest, has been cut off by Brenda. No offense, Brenda, but it's true. So maybe you can give us a point to round out the show with, and then I'm going to thank everybody for watching and all of you on the panel.
No, it's all right, man. Brenda can't.
Bastard.
No. Okay.
Well, with that, I'm going to say a massive thank you to all of the people who have joined us for this live show.
Second I
I love it. yes, a massive thank you to all of the panel for being here. It's been a real pleasure, a delight. This has been the best one by far, I won't lie. So thank you all very much for being here. And more importantly, as Louise pointed out, thank you to the audience. We have had your attention, and for that I am extremely grateful. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.